Esports Racing League. For the first time in a couple of years, it's time to answer the age-old question: who is the best? With 2 rounds in the books, the Esports Racing League heads to the track of questionable corner numbers, but on a platform that it's called home since day one. Welcome to iRacing as we head into our final 2 rounds of the 2026 regular season. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, and with Vitality coming off a high with their victory on Gran Turismo 7, can they roll things forward as our points leaders? Alongside myself, let's welcome Lewis McGlade into all of the action. And Lewis, iRacing and touring car machinery. You love some front-wheel drive action, and that's what we're going to see tonight.
Yeah, and there's not going to be much question of corner numbers because they're terrible and they're all completely wrong. We'll be talking about that many times over the next couple of hours, I'm sure, Arjuna. But yeah, bringing out the Elantra out here in iRacing, to be fair, a combination that I've had a little bit of experience with back in the day. I used to tow the car around here a fair amount. Great car track combo, great overtaking, and I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of battering heading down into the chicane, I'm sure.
And the drivers have been warned that the contact model and damage model may not always be their friends. Let's see how much they'll take that into account. Let's discuss the format, though, because on Gran Turismo 7, slight change in our format. We're back to the format that we ran on Live for Speed to open up the season, and that means we split our teams into 2 heat races, take the top 5 to proceed to the quarterfinals. Everyone else heads to a second chance race before, Lewis, we head into the quarterfinal stage.
Yeah, and of course that second chance race, just 1 driver per team. Throughout the rest of the competition, it's all 3 drivers out there, the top 2 scoring points, as we've had before. And again, as we had back on LFS to start the season, it will be a 3-team final. We were discussing about potential candidates to get into that final, and our expected winners. Arjuna will leave that maybe a little bit on the back burner for everyone watching this evening, and then we'll see if we were right or wrong, and I'm sure we'll discuss that a little bit later on. But look, I'm excited for it. It's obviously going to be a great little combo here on iRacing.
And we'll build to our final in a handful of weeks' time on RaceRoom, where contact model will be very forgiving to drivers, I think, maybe in contrast to some of what we may see today. That will be in a very different machine as to what we'll see on the Last Garage, our in-person finale with our best 4 teams in the Vickers 8, a custom-built car for VCO competitions at a TBD track. Great to mix and match these platforms, and I'm just saying, particular platform that released this past week, I've already put about 50 hours into Forza Horizon 6. Maybe we'll throw that in, and maybe these teams will be thinking about that moving forward. But let's talk about favorites today, Lewis, because you've already alluded to it. There's one lineup in particular that you and I have circled as being particularly strong.
Yeah, when it comes to teams to get into the final, obviously we have 3 teams in the final. We've put some question marks towards some teams. Yeah, you like your EMMs, your BS competitions, maybe even your Vitalities, teasers. We expect that these might be able to get there, but when it comes to the team that we're expected potentially to come out on top this evening, Williams' lineup does look pretty solid, and I think they are going to be a tough team to beat. Not an impossible team to beat, but a tough one to beat nonetheless.
And I think with our 3-team format, that's why it's not an impossibility, because of the chaos that we may see around the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. But why is that important in terms of points, that Williams could be up strong through proceedings? Well, they are currently tied with BS Plus competition, just 2 points back from Vitality Sim Racing. Have to go all the way down, though, to 7th to find our defending champions, EMM Esports, who've got some work to do, Lewis, in this back half of the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, again, looking at other teams on there, Visceral currently in 5th position. We're expecting them to run pretty strong, returning with the lineup that won them the opening round of this championship on Live for Speed. EMM, like we say, look, I think they're going to be a pretty strong lineup today. They've got Darren McCormack out there. They've got Will Chadwick, Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain champion, taking to the circuit, and Darren McCormack won't be able to lie back on his sofa and play on the controller. Got to sit in the rig and actually drive around properly in these bad boys.
Well, you say that. He can always throw on a controller. It might not be the quickest. Pick and ban, it's been one of the new additions to ERL, and what fun it's been. However, already, got to say, disappointed that St. Petersburg was banned so quickly. Boo, but not so disappointed to see Sonoma, Navarra, and Oschersleben off the table. Hungaroring could have been interesting, but it leaves Zandvoort, Donington Park, Road Atlanta, the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and Mount Panorama on the list. And I think quite a few teams all in consensus with their experience around the track. Let's head to the Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta.
No one picked Bathurst. You're all wimps. Get out of here. But I mean, look, Road Atlanta is a great track. It's certainly up there in my top 10 tracks on planet Earth. It's certainly a fun one. It's exciting to throw around, and you can see their body stream. Can anyone beat Vitality? They were the dominant force last time out on Gran Turismo, weren't they? And taking that very well-deserved victory, technically speaking, with it being the same lineup as what they had on R8G. That means they've won on Gran Turismo 2 seasons in a row. We'll see if Yuri Toman, if Marcel Cinchik and Thibaut Casabon, the 3 drivers that we typically see race for them on Rennsport, see what they're going to be able to piece together in a... I'm going to be honest here, as much as I like the colour, the boringly livery Team Vitality car. At least put some effort in, boys.
It's yellow with some stickers slapped on the side of it, isn't it? Quite literally.
Boring.
One lap in qualifying in this Hyundai Elantra. There's a couple of different Hyundais as the teams unfortunately came to find out. They have done their paint scheme for the wrong one of them, but this is the slightly longer, I think, of the cars, less of a hatchback sort of shape. Run down through the S's will Marcel Cinchik. This is one of the parts of the track you wouldn't expect much passing opportunity, but out of here, it's a track in which you can battle plenty.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've already had the request from Race Control coming into this from all the drivers to please not make a move into turn 7. Any question marks as to which one turn 7 is? By the way, they say you can't make moves. They're more about bumpy dives. Turn 7's this one. Really super awkward corner. Right-hander onto the back stretch. And you're closing up going through turn 6, and when you get off that brakes, it's so tempted to go for that dive. That dive's never a particularly good idea. And what it almost always causes, if you're going for that dive there, it will cause 3 and 4 wide on this stretch. Yes, you've gone through turn 7. Yes, Arjuna, I'm going to annoy you because the next corner you come across is turn 10. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be?
Logic, and then it's turn 10A, turn 10B, but no track limits to worry about in qualifying. Drivers might pick up some grass when we go racing, but Marcel Cinchik keeps it on the tarmac as he sweeps under the Fox Factory Bridge, dives down to the line, and just in view of the broadcast booth, a 1:26.434. It's about 3/10 off of Alessandro Bico. No surprise to see the Williams trio up there in the top 5. Darren McCormack inserts himself into the mix, but where is the newly crowned Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain champion up to 4th?
Indeed, not too bad for the EMM team. Dennis Chodigo will be also going around the circuit. We look back to Thibaut Casabon. Klink Müller for Team Nitro, who are one of our finalists last season of the Esports Racing League. Out onto the circuit, we've got Michi Tauscher and Leon Bent as well for them. The feisty Frenchman of Thibaut Casabon drops down the hill, aiming to get a 26 onto the board. Will get a 26.3. Good lap time for the Vitality car to go onto the front row. Michi Tauscher up to 4th position.
It's going to be a competitive heat, and that is exactly what you want to see. Team Nitro hoping to get another one of these Hyundais into the top 10 as Leon Burnt works his way to the line, but about a second off of the pace. That's going to see him be second slowest on the board. Only one of the Samantha Tan racing cars, Ruby Nakamata and Dennis Schoniger, the other of the EMM machines, still out there on track and with a time to set. See what Dennis Schoeniger is going to be able to do. He's working to the line behind Nekomata, who's, again, a 1:27.193, but final time in this 20-car Heat 1 yet to come.
Yeah, I don't think it's been a great lap, though, from what I'm seeing from Dennis Schoeniger, who just crosses the line now. Goes into 16th position in the EMM liveried Hyundai Elantra. So it will be Williams first and third. We said they were going to be looking strong. Alessandro Bico will take the first pole of the night.
And that iRacing experience may be proving crucial as we see the front three drivers all very much iRacing stalwarts, the rest of the field, and slowly filtering through with some of that other platform experience. Alessandro Bico, smile on his face, got the job done in qualifying.
Look, I think that qualifying, maybe it's not closer than I was expecting. It's certainly close enough where we're going to see a lot of racing, right? That's one of the things. It's there's been no major gaps on this field. Like it was only a couple of tenths really separating the top few positions. Alessandro Bico will know that he's got a lot of work to do. But again, as teams, you're looking to be the top 5 teams here, Arjuna, to move through.
And the top 2 of your drivers combined to score points. And so Alessandro Bico, Matteo Kenzer are first and third, with Thibaut Casabon sandwiched between them in the bright yellow for Vitality. His teammate Marcel Chinjik's down in 5th, with Michi Tauscher just in front in 4th, with Will Chadwick then completing the front 6. Slightly out of order as we work through those front 3 rows to talk about the team stories. But Dara McCormack, Dominic Bly, 7th and 8th positions. Yes, Motorsports and Vitality Sim Racing complete the top 10 and keep an eye out for Gabor Gur and Niels Klinkmuller from 11th and 12th positions. Only 6 tenths covering the front 12 in qualifying, with David Salada, Mateo Estevez 13th and 14th spots. Federico Cervi, Dennis Schoeniger just behind them as we get to 1 second down through the qualifying boards, with Ruby Nekomata, Vitus Lagukas and Leon Burnt, Skylar Loverink, your 20 drivers getting ready to roll for what will be a standing start, Lewis.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, Arjuna. Best of luck with this one, because I can see a car on its roof in the opening corner. We know what these drivers are like. They're going to be very elbows out this evening. Top 5 teams to move through into the semi-finals. Everyone else is going to go straight through into the last chance race, which I'm sure will be absolutely brutal.
The one good thing, though, is with only 20 cars in the heat, at least this particular heat, there's no one really on too much of an incline. It's a relatively flat starting surface. These cars are designed for sprint racing by nature, although they do some endurance racing as well. It's all going to be about the reaction to the lights and something that will be dialed in over the course of the night as well, you'd think.
You'd certainly hope so. Obviously, they've got a relatively long wait on the grid. It's 2 minutes, and we're about ready to go for the first one.
And so for the first time tonight, halfway through our 2026 Esports Racing League season,
green flag.
Let's go racing on iRacing. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, our venue. A good start from our pole sitter. His teammate, Matteo Kenzer, instantly has to try and duck and weave to try and cover off Thibaut Casabon's jink to the inside. But as we funnel up through turn 1, Casabon in the bright yellow, going to hold on as we single file out within the top 10. William Chadwick in front of Dara McCormack. No change in front of the front 8. Everyone else strings through the S's and now tries to work their way forward.
Surprise, Arjuna. Clean start from everyone. Fantastic stuff. Alessandro Bico is your race leader, and he's already pulled out nearly 3/4 of a second before they get to turn 5 and crest the top of the hill. Like you say, single file. The closest battle will be that between Niels Klinkmuller and Imran Ahmad Azar. That is 11th and 12th position. Azar had been passed by Klinkmuller on the opening lap. Was already looking for an attack down into 6. He's once again eyeing up a potential move to get down the inside at 7. It's going to slow up that entire pack. 11th on back. Solana loses out to Dennis Schoeniger, who's up to 13th from the start.
And so as we run down this undulating back straightaway, it's also not straight. Jinx left and right as you dive down into that final braking zone of the lap. No one really too intent on making moves up front. Those teams relatively settled. Lights flash as Salada going to force his way past Dennis Schoeniger. The last thing he wants to do is get involved. Around goes Imran Ahmad Azar, and there's the chaos that, Lewis, you were expecting.
That was not amazing. Solana a little bit too aggressive into the side of Azar, and then as he slides all over the place, does also collect Solana as well. Ruby Nikamata also into the pit lane for the Smantan Racing esports team, and unfortunately a couple of drivers, Solana also joining in the pit lane, so some repairs to do. I think there is a fast repair for the driver to take though this afternoon, so they can at least get straight back out of the circuit and score some potentially much needed points for them. Already nearly a second lead for our race leader Alessandro Bico. Williams F1 Team Gaming starting to take control here.
Just a 10-minute dash now left. The race is all 12 minutes in length with the exception of our second chance race. Just one driver on track from each of those teams. Just 10 minutes for them to race for a spot in the quarterfinals. Alessandro Bico already breaking away now as he ducks and weaves, much like you would in the month of May, to break the tow behind you, but Thibaut Casabon needs that to hold back Matteo Kenzer. Williams F1 Team Gaming, Vitality, and EMM all having two cars inside of the front 10 as they sit right now in a very good spot.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have Felix van Delft to give me the numbers. He's a busy boy. That was the hit into Azar, what caused the spin. Actually, 5 cars were involved in all that. It was Solana going into the rear right, caught the EMM, and Schrodinger was able to get back onto the circuit without major drama. Solana would obviously drop down. Imran Ahmad Azar would drop down into 16th position. So certainly not ideal. So no, I don't have any free points to throw you away. So we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way and try and work it out in our head. But Williams obviously in a solid position. Vitality also. Team Nitro would be. EMM would be. The 5th team would potentially be Yes. No? Yes.
It's a close fight there, that is for sure. And that's where the points from coming back out from maybe getting involved in damage and using that fast repair, Lewis, could be important in both this heat and the next one. Richie Tauscher. Now this car's got a handbrake, doesn't have traction control, but hopefully doesn't yoink the handbrake, doesn't punch the throttle. I just had to bring up that memory of our first day of Esports Racing World Cup history.
Yeah, that was an exciting one. Obviously, the toe-to-toe between Unicorns of Love and Veloce. Gotta say, I'm liking this livery on the Team Nitro. It kind of gives me a little bit of that Unicorns of Love vibe, but it's red, not pink. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind some of the Team Nitro liveries that we've had, but I don't know. I think it fits the Elantra quite nicely. If that was coloured pink, I'd be like, bam, instantly as a Unicorns of Love car.
Do miss those dashing pink liveries, but this is a worthy replacement, and the team as well really has been a contender. Hasn't been an easy start to their Esports Racing League 2026 season. It isn't quite at the point where you'd say they're down and out, but they need a spot in the finals if they want any mathematical hope of getting a top 4 spot coming into our final round of the season.
I mean, you may say, I do agree. Obviously, we got halfway through this season and the 2 rounds we've completed. We've still got 2 more here today, and of course on RaceRoom in a few weeks' time. But for Team Nitro, they are 13th in the points on 24 points at the moment. To be in those top 4, to be a part of that final, it's 41 points. I think they are as good as done. I think even at the minimum amount of points you're scoring, you're still talking like 12, 13 points. They're not getting into that top 4, unfortunately. So they've got to just enjoy the last couple of rounds. There's no winning you're in. This ain't NASCAR. But, you know, although it's not even NASCAR anymore, is it really? That's fine.
It's NASCAR now, apparently. They're the only thing still left with playoffs, but that's neither here nor there. Almost halfway through this first heat of the night. I think you're right. What that does mean, though, is if they have a couple of strong performances, they are going to take some points away from some of the other teams. And keep that in mind. There's some teams that may have seen their preferred platforms already, Lewis, and heading on to iRacing and RaceRoom may now be in a position where they're trying to salvage just as many points as they can from the remaining rounds of the season.
Yeah, and it's kind of not an easy one to... Yeah, if your preferred platform was, say, for example, LFS or even Gran Turismo for some of the teams, and you're below the cut line, then you're coming onto iRacing, which is the most popular platform in sim racing. It has the largest contingent of esports experts on this platform, to be fair to them. And now you've got to work your way in. Teams like EMM, yeah, they're in 7th at the moment. We're riding on board with one of their drivers in Will Chadwick. They need to make the most tonight. I think they will be coming into tonight be like expecting to be in the final, and anything below that is not good enough. It is going to be a tough night for them, but I'm sure they've got the pace and agility to do so. Will Chadwick navigating his way through. Like I said, it was an excellent drive for him to win the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Yeah, Sebastian Joe was racing in, Charlie Collins was racing in a championship, and it was our man Big Willie C who was able to take to the top step. And you can see some of the track maps in the background. I'm sure Road Atlanta is a part of that contingent.
The thing to remember for EMM is they were finalists in LFS, and I think if you're finalists in 3 of the platforms, you will guarantee your spot in the top 4. Lewis, what I was kind of also alluding to with that point on preferred platforms is 92 Esports, so I think their preferred platform was Gran Turismo. We saw them have a great showing there. They're tied for Visceral, currently for 4th position. Both sit 3 points back from Vitality Sim Racing. It's very, very tight at the top. They're currently looking like they're going to a second chance race right now. This may be one of those platforms that they weren't really thinking was going to be their prime performance. Yeah, I mean, 92 Esports coming into this championship is a big improvement on last season. I think that's what they're vying for, to be top 5, top 10, that kind of area on the teams. I think they've been fantastic in the opening 2 races of this championship, 2 rounds of this championship. I think they were semi-finalists on LFS, and they were obviously working their way through all the way up into the final. They were only beaten by Vitality after some great performances in the final last time out on Gran Turismo. Look, I think they've had a great season so far. If they get into the second chance race, I still think they've got a good solid chance to move through into the quarterfinals. They've only got a couple more laps to deal with here. It does seem very unlikely that Federico Servi or Daniel Solana will be able to move their way any further forward to guarantee their position straight through into the quarterfinals. But you never know, it only takes one opportune moment from a driver in this contingent to throw the cat amongst the pigeons. So I don't think we're going to get too many big moves, certainly not from those that are safe. I think what we're also seeing is very difficult to pass, and so with the drivers all fairly closely matched on speed, there's not that many heavy braking zones. You had called out earlier, turn 7, drivers warned maybe to be cautious about their moves there and cognizant of the funnel effect that sometimes plays itself out. But outside of that, Lewis, turn 10, that's one of the other passing opportunities. Will Chadwick thought about that lunge. Also, Chinchik had enough speed to cover it off, and look how much time and momentum Chadwick has lost as a result of that because of all of the exit speed that Chinchik was able to carry forward.
Yeah, turn 7 is not an overtaking opportunity. Just it looks like it is. It's a 90-degree right-hander, but it goes onto the backstretch. The outside line is faster through it. And so if you are forced to let someone's diving down the inside, if you just go around the outside, 9 times out of 10, you're going to beat them straight up the corner. As long as you pick up the slipstream of the car ahead, it's all well and good. My instinct take from this race, Arjuna, is we might actually get 2 more laps from this point, actually 1 minute 50 across the line. Alessandro Bico has started out the race really, really strongly. I thought was going to absolutely decimate the gap with Thibaut Casmon, having built a second in the opening couple laps. Hasn't got any further away though, kind of sits around that 3/4 of a second margin, maybe not wanting to show all the pace straight away, but also, I will tell you, from experience in these cars, you can burn out those front tyres pretty aggressively. They're very thermally sensitive, let's go with that.
Well, and again, it's front-wheel drive. You're putting all the power and the steering through the same wheels, and sometimes in a 2-hour race in IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge competition, these drivers won't even change the rear tires. They didn't change it over 4 hours at Daytona to start the year off, so you are correct. You can very much overheat the front. My gut indicates to me what you said, though, is true. Alessandro Bico is keeping a bit of pace in reserve. Saw the smile on his face after qualifying, though, so it's clear he's happy about what he's seeing relative to the rest of the field. We will have 1 lap left to go. 5 teams to advance directly to the quarterfinals, and it seems pretty settled as to who those 5 are going to be.
Yeah, Williams most certainly will be one of them. Vitality, Nitro, EMM, and it does seem as though at the moment it'll be Yes moving through as well. Samantha Racing aren't a million miles away, but those would be the 5 teams to move straight through into the quarterfinals. Everyone else will have to go once again in that second chance race. Final lap then in the opening race here at Road Atlanta. And Alessandro Bico, hopefully he'll jump in for a bit of a post-race interview and a bit of a debrief with us. And well, he'll probably be a bit coy, but I'm sure we can at least ask the question, Arjuna, if he's got any more pace in the tank. And I think the answer to that question will be no, of course not. When the answer is actually obviously yes.
I mean, they are using all the track on offer to them. That's what the camera from Matteo Kenz's roof shows us. Running down through the Yeses, such a high-speed part of the track. Compressed through the camber at turn 6 before you touch the brake, try and get on the power nice and early. And then again, breathe for just a moment. One of the few places around this track that you can actually catch your breath as long as you're not 3 wide, which often does happen through 10 hours of racing for Petit Le Mans later in the year. It's been a fairly anticlimactic opening race with no changes inside of the front 8. So after clearing away in the early stages, able to hold positions, Williams F1 Team Gaming, Alessandro Bico, first winners of the Esports Racing League night on iRacing at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
Even race control might be sat there being like, come on boys, give us a little bit of work. Everyone was way too calm in that. I'm sure as the evening goes on, we might be saying the exact opposite thing. Great drive from Bico. Across the line, Leon Byrne, Team Nitro. Should be one of the teams to move straight through. Across the line with 14th position, 11th and 4th. Should be enough for Mitchie Tauscher and Niels Klinkmuller to drag Leon Byrne as well through into the quarter-finals, where 12 teams to do battle. That'll be our biggest race of the night. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of door bangs in that one. Like I say, a bit of an anti-climax, but I think it was still wasn't bad. It was still 12 minutes of entertaining racing.
Yeah, you know, we kept each other on our toes, both in the booth and out on track. Alessandro Bico, Williams F1 Team Gaming on top with Vitality Sim Racing and Thibaut Casabon, still on fine metal for the moment. Williams F1 Team Gaming first and third. Team Nitro, the best of their cars, down in fourth, while EMM 6th and 7th will do enough. Will Chadwick and Dara McCormack combining quite nicely. Gabo Guerre for Yes Motorsports punches a spot inside of the top 10 and should do enough for the team to move forward, with Imran Ahmadazar recovering to 15th spot. Niels Klinkmuller in front with Federico Cervi, Skylar Lovering, Leon Burnt 11th through 14th spots. Dennis Schoeniger, Ruby Nekamata, David Salada, Vitus Lagukas, and then Mateo Estevez, the 20 cars that we got to saw. One story just to touch on, Absolute Motorsport were meant to be slotted into Heat 1. They initially were lined up for Heat 2, but a memo didn't quite go through, so we'll see them in the second chance race. But until then, let's quickly catch up with our race winner, Alessandro Bico. And Alessandro, great drive. We saw the smile after qualifying, but then the gap didn't really seem to build too much in the race itself. Was there much more pace that you had out on track, or were you pushing 10 tenths?
Well, hello everyone. For quali I was very happy. Honestly, I put the lap clean. In the race, it's difficult, honestly, to put a good gap, because with the draft, this car, it's, you know, very difficult to, even if you have one or two 10, it's very difficult to put a gap. So honestly, I'm happy that I kept that gap. So yeah, very happy about the race and the team.
You talk about the draft, but also we didn't see too much passing inside of the top 8. Is it a tough track to actually make some moves at?
Yeah, it's very easy if you are behind to follow and everything, but it's very difficult to overtake. That's something we will see, I think, for the next race also.
Thank you, Alessandro. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Quick chat with our race winner and draft. Didn't really think we'd talk too much about that, but he is right. These are cars that put out a decent amount of clean air behind them, I would say, the hole in the air, because they are proper race cars. These aren't like road cars converted to go racing, Lewis.
No, you like I say, you can basically sit on the rear end of someone pretty much the whole way around the circuit. It's why you see Sometimes some of the very small gaps, like you can literally sit on someone's rear bumper, and you still have pretty much the same grip. You do get a little bit of dirty air, fair enough. You will notice the car does understeer a little bit more, fair enough. But for the most part, it's pretty unnoticeable. And because of that hole not being punched so much, when it comes down to the end of the backstretch, you're not really there to go through. I think that will become a little bit more of an issue, as in a good sense for us, and in a bad sense for the drivers, later on in the night when you're a bit more desperate to go for those moves, when it is about those final transfer spots. Do remember this first race, no one is going out in this opening race. They just get moved into the second chance.
So while qualifying rumbles on for Heat 2, let's take a glimpse of what happened in Heat number 1. An action-packed Heat 1 behind. A clean start up front, though, as Alessandro Bico led the Williams F1 Team Gaming Hyundai the field through the opening corners at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Team Nitro tucked in, as were Vitality Sim Racing and EMM Esports. That front 8 group all content after chaos down at the chicane on the opening lap. David Salada sending the car in, tagging the side of one of the Yes Motorsports machines. Dennis Schoeniger being pushed out into the gravel as a result, and a big gap, and lots of cars needing a trip down pit lane as a result. At a track where passing was at a premium and opportunities to move forward already somewhat guaranteed, are fields content to learn, to sit behind their competitors and see where time can maybe be gained later in proceedings. Lots of draft put out from these Hyundai Elantras, and Alessandro Bico controlled tempo up front to hold on to a win. Lewis, you said up front that you didn't really learn too much, I think, from Alessandro Bico. I think putting out the performance in Heat number 1. What are we going to learn maybe from Heat number 2 now, with just as many teams, but maybe not a standout team as we thought of in Heat 1?
Look, I get the feeling that if Heat 1's not been very elbows out, that maybe Heat 2 won't be elbows out as well. I think we're going to save some of the handbags at dawn until the second chance race and maybe a little bit beyond. Obviously, these are the teams entering in Heat 2, and where going into Heat 1, we were more looking towards Williams as being the prime team. Looking across this, obviously you've got yourselves Visceral, race winners, or round winners rather, on LFS. Same lineup again with Price, Kerrikas and Katia. I think those 3 will be pretty rapid on this one. TC Esports, I think they might be pretty decent. BS competition, certainly a contender to get through into the finals. So we've got some solid lineups out there, and let's be honest, anyone can throw their hat into the ring. As to which 5 teams are moving through, Argina, not a clue.
You know, I'm going to go out on a limb and say BS Plus, Visceral, and TC Esports. Those are my 3 that I do think will go through. I then have to flip a coin between the rest of the teams, though, because there's plenty of talent. 0 Point Racing, a team that if they had one more driver, you may want to pick them. But yeah. Cody Latkovsky, Thomas Hill, they're batting down a man effectively, right? And if one of them has troubles, it's basically day done. And so at best, they're hoping for a spot in the quarterfinals, Lewis, and see if they can salvage anything else from there.
I mean, look, 0 Point Racing, they find themselves 11th in the standings. They kind of need to have a decent round this time out. And they're a team that, I know from my knowledge of their drivers, Thomas Ribeiro, who isn't one of their drivers racing tonight, but will be, I assume, racing next round on RaceRoom. They are targeting not a final on RaceRoom. They will be genuinely targeting the victory on RaceRoom. They're a team that can absolutely do it, right? But getting to that point, they need to remain in contention for that. Again, like we said earlier, it's not a win and you're in vibe. You need to be in the top 4 of the overall points to move through into the grand final. And your wins don't help. Like they help only on points terms.
And they're still a bit far behind. Not quite as far back as Team Nitro, but only 5 points in front, so work to be done.
Qualifying complete. Carlos Fenalosa will be starting from pole position for TC Esports. Rainer Talvar for BS competition alongside, before we get to our trio of Viscerals. It's Price, Kerrikas and Yoni Katler. Behind that, it's Aragada for TC Esports, qualifying pretty well then in 1st and 6th, with Ferox and BS Competitions duo of Leboutelet and Walsingham. Ferrex of Bruno Kalef in 10th position. Thomas Sim Racing with Varga and Vorak will finish qualifying in 11th and 12th position, with HD Esports Manuel Vera from 13th. Owls, who impressed last time out with Mark Naylor, will start from 14th position. Ferrex is Eljon, and then Frieger for Owls in 16th position. Roig and Bonacci will finish in 17th and 18th in qualifying, nearly 2 seconds off the pace before we've got a sea of cars that haven't set a time. Livragi did, though, and qualifies in 19th position. TC Esports, no time for David Sobrero. Absolute Motorsport Aston, Tom Sim Racing, and then 2 of the Customs GT's cars of Cornelia and Rodriguez in 24th position. The final row being Vilches and Krakowski, the Absolute Motorsports Aslith team. So a much larger grid here, but still the same rules remain as Heat 1. Only the top 5 teams will progress their way through into the quarterfinals. Everyone else needs to take a trip into the second chance race.
There are a couple of cars towards the tail end of the starting grid that are on a slight incline, so keep that in mind. But just look at the team colors at the front as well, Lewis. It gives us an indication of what to expect. Maybe some less fighting, like we saw at Heat 1 at the front of the field, given the difficulty to make moves, although staying close, not the hardest thing in the world.
Like I say, making those passes probably going to be the hardest part, but like you say, staying close shouldn't be particularly difficult. We did see that Alessandro Bico was unable to pull away from the field in the previous race. Well, Carlos Penalosa fare better here for TC Esports. Heat 2 of the Esports Racing League here on iRacing at Road Atlanta is green once again. Great start there from Isaac Price for Visceral on the second row of the grid. He's already going to make it 3-1 down to the opening corner. Not a good start from Carlos Penalosa. And TC Esports are dropping backwards into the crowd of Visceral. To the outside of the opening corner comes the attack from Rainer Talbar. And there's off the road goes one of the Viscerals. It's it's Christoph Karakas dropping down the field, leaving 2 of the Viscerals at the front of Isaac Price and Yoni Katana. Rainer Talbot between the pair of them, but they go single file finally. It's all kicking off a little bit more here in Heat 2.
That's a little bit more argy-bargy. Caracas recovers into the top 10, and there's a big slide behind him as Mark Neela just about holds on, but already a little bit cleaner for the field as they now stretch out of turn 5. What a rocket of a start from Isaac Price, Lewis. And that's something that I did already call out, that we're going to see better and better starts as we work our way through the night and drivers dial in that start procedure.
Yeah, you've got to get that bite point perfect. I mean, to be fair, there is one where some people think if you hold both pedals down, then lift off the brakes, sometimes you get better starts to that. But one of the more important things, you've got to ride that perfect equilibrium between, obviously, same as you would do in a rear-wheel drive car, but almost sometimes more so in these, lifting off the clutch and then bogging down, or lifting off the clutch and then getting that wheel spin. Very easy to do one of the 2 things. Big look to the inside coming from Rainer Talbar as he attacks the race lead. Isaac Price hangs on though just for now. The up and under as they then come down the 80-foot drop at the penultimate corner into the last at 12. And it's Rainer Talbar to put BS Competition into the front of the field. They are racing in this one, Arjuna.
This is what we like to see. Lot closer, and I'm wondering where that stems from. All our races will be in identical weather conditions, all with fixed setups. There's no differences between these Hyundai Elantras, but already we are getting the sense that you can be a bit better in that wheel-to-wheel. BS Plus competition still with 3 cars in the top 10. They sit in a nice place, as do Visceral with all 3 of their cars in the top 10. TC Esports would be 3rd in the board as things go right now, and I think the Referox Esports crew will be right behind them. It's all now about that 5th team.
Yeah, it's Referox and Owls at the moment who would be the top 5 teams, at least by my quick maths. Obviously, don't trust them too much. I'm not a smart man at the end of the day, but those are the ones at the moment. So with that being the case, with BS Competition being, relatively speaking, safe, what the Aidan Walsingham and Thomas Leboutelet do, and if I'm, on the wall for them, if I'm your Florian Haskos, whoever's running the numbers for the team, who's ever chatting to the drivers, I'd actually be saying, don't really bother about it. But I mean, yeah, sure, they're going to go for a little bit of a move, fair enough, but don't put anything at risk. Walsingham's going to get his way past Arriagada, and will find its way with a bit of a door bang up into 5th. These are the risks that I don't think you can really be taking too much. Side by side with the final corner, Arriagada's got to back out of it, surely. Bit of a brush as Leboutelet comes through. I don't know about that. I mean, obviously nothing bad from race control perspective. No one's got to jump in on that. But from a team manager, I'm looking at that thinking, why are you taking the risk, boys? We're in position to move through. That's the important bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's also some drivers that are not in this race that you may be wondering. 0 Point Racing actually had some issues getting their drivers all suited up for this particular event. So taking a break. They'll be back with us for that final round. And so very much we'll be looking forward to challenging at the front. You know, Lewis, I'm watching all of this fighting and I'm wondering what the drivers learned from Heat 1 and have been able to apply here, because everywhere they've been able to be side by side, a place that you said wasn't a passing opportunity, they thought about going 3 wide for a moment.
Yeah, look, they were potentially giving it a little bit of a go. Was Abe Sentema now drags his teammate Bruno Kalef in it. Christoph Korekas was trying to get past Arriagada there, and this is what I mean. This is why you can't really do too much. If you're on that inside line at 7, you're just going to plummet down the order, and they've been passed by 2 of the Referox cars, and Bruno Kalef, who are on board with right now, right on the back of Abe Sentema, who was there in our season finale last season, obviously at the start of this year at Maastricht, to support Watch, try and take part in, of course, over on the other side of the Esports Hall, taking part in Sim Formula Europe as well. Look, obviously great to see, but he's now got his teammate Bruno Kalef trying to battle it out with Christoph Korekis. There's a bit of 3 wide behind all that as well. It's all kicking off. David Sobrero's come up from the rear of the field and now tries to force his way through. One of them's off the road, a couple of them are off the road. It's getting very racy and dicey back here.
Yeah, there's increasing levels of frustration, I think, ratcheting up as well. David Sobrero, no lap time in qualifying from what would likely have been a track limit infringement, either at turn 3, the rise over into the S's, or down at turn 10 at the chicane, but driven quite well to recover up to 11th position. The worry will be, like you called out, if there was any contact on the way through, but that car's looking very, very factory fresh, and so it's been, I'm sure, pretty eventful opening 6 minutes to pick his way through to at least a top 10 fighting position, but about 6 seconds off of your leaders, who now have started to single file themselves. And with Reina Talvar leading the pack, Isaac Price, Yoni Katia, Carlos Fenalosa has broken away with them as well. No one really making moves just yet, but the body language of the car, body language of Isaac Price, he's ready to go for it. The opportunity presents itself.
Look, Isaac Price was absolutely fantastic earlier on in the season when we were racing on Live for Speed, and I'm sure he will very much want to copy past to that one and maybe try and find his way onto the top step of the podium once again. He knows how to win on a handful of platforms. He's won 3 times back on LFS. The chance of him winning again and not a million miles away, and he become the first driver then this season to win on 2 different platforms, which that is a big whack into the barrier. Ouchie.
Like that, even with a much sturdier car, I think, to say the very least.
Yeah, look, again, I've probably door banged this car more than my fair share. To be fair, I was more in the RS3, but let me look. I've moved around a couple of Elantras in my time. They do slide around a little bit after contact. Let me tell you, especially if you drive your service, especially if you drive into the rear end of them a little bit into turn 7. You can, you may maybe open up your own opportunity. They're not going to do that though, because we have live race control on this, so I'm sure race control would be jumping on any issues that I would be throwing onto the table. Sobero trying to do his battle with Bruno Kalef, who's dragging his Referox back up towards the top 10. Sobero's going to drop down into 12th position. TC Esports though, with 4th and 7th in this. Sobero has done his job to rise well. Should one of those cars ahead of him have an issue, will be enough to keep TC Esports in one of the quarter-final transfer spots. So I think it's done the really important bit. Really cannot afford to take any major risks. As much as it's the top 2 cars of each team that score points, that 3rd car, if it does pick up penalty points, they do get applied to the team regardless of whether it's a scoring car or not.
No, and you don't want to put yourself in a second chance race. You want to avoid that panic. And right now, TC in a very good position. It's been a good, I'd say, season overall. We knew they would be quick on Gran Turismo 7, and indeed maximizing their points coming out of that round, I think, given the strength of Vitality in particular, but also 92 Esports. But for Koke Lopez to lead that charge alongside one of the up-and-coming Gran Turismo World Series drivers, 6th, and only 5 points, or excuse me, 2 points off of a top 4 slot in the championship, and that's really what the focus will be. David Sobrero has done a couple of LAN events here and there, so he knows what that sort of pressure can be like, and that's the pressure that some of these drivers thrive under. He'll try and get the up and under as they cut out of the final chicane and dive under the Fox Factory Bridge. He's done a good job to pop himself into the mirrors, but not alongside. The move has to wait at least another lap.
Yeah, obviously it's such a big drop through that final corner. Kind of makes you wonder if you were stood on the top of that with a driver, a little bit of wind behind. Could you Bryson DeChambeau it a good 350 yards? That's the question, isn't it? 2 minutes and 50 seconds left to go in the race. There was a look to the outside from Sobrero. Kalef in 11th at present. They're joined in the fight, though, with Martin Varga for Thomas Eng Sim Racing. Sat on the rear. We ride on board with Varga. Picking up onto that curb on the right-hand side, coming through 5. Really is an aggressive curb there on the exit of 5. I'm not going to lie. If there's one thing that I remember from my time trying to lap this circuit in the Elantra back in the day, it does ride the curb on the exit of 5 pretty nice, but I've got to say it's still an uncomfortable ride. I hate that corner. I'm not going to lie.
These cars as well, going back to what I was saying earlier, they are race cars. You know, they race with GT4s a lot of the time. Those are road cars that are converted to go racing, and in many ways, these are faster than them, especially when you put the amateur driver. If you put Lewis and me in a GT4 car, and you put a Reina Talvar in a TCR car, I promise you, Reina Talvar is probably going to be quicker than us. Again, goes to show the amount that these drivers are able to throw the car around. A little blip on our timing there as Christoph Karekis dropping down, wondering what's going on there.
Yeah, maybe a disconnection, thankfully, for them. Isaac Price and Yoni Kata running up into second and third positions, to still scoring decent points for Visceral. They won't be too worried about that one, but it might make Isaac Price think twice about doing something on the final lap. Then again, it is Isaac Price. He'll definitely try and steal away a victory if he can. Honestly, I think if you put Reina Talvar in a TCR car and you were to stick me and you in, I don't know, LMDH, still might be a little bit faster. You never know. We're not as fast as we used to be. We're both a bit fatter.
Don't know what you're talking about, mate. I won that race in that Wrenchport thing.
You did. Right.
My ego has never been so high after that when it comes to my sim racing ability.
Yeah, devastated that. You also didn't manage to hear my joke about what car you'd be driving before broadcast, but that's fine. I said it wouldn't be a VW, but it's all right. We'll move on with that one.
I was more upset about the allegations about me fudging my golf scores. My handicap is sacred, Lewis. How dare you?
I mean, look, I think they're about as fudged as Cam Rogers. Either way, onto the final lap of proceedings. Reina Talvar is your race leader, 3 tenths of a second, about a third of a second ahead. Is behind all this. Try and take a look at this. So we've got 2 of the Thomas Eng Sim Racing cars trying to find their way through their side-by-side of the final corner for 15th. Oh, my goodness.
Bit of contact, and now the teammate has to come and defend. Got to give some draft while also covering off the line, but not going to quite work. And sandwiched between the Thomas Eng Sim Racing machines. Going to now be a battle on the final lap. Not such a fight up front, although like you said, don't give Isaac Price any questions about if he should make some moves up the inside to turn 6.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Up and under coming in from Reina Talvar into 7. We're going to get a bit of a drag race here on the back stretch. The outside line particularly favours those brave on the throttle, and Isaac Price is as brave as he comes. Up to the slipstream as well. Yoni Katia, will he be able to get his way past Reina Talvar as well and make this a visceral 1-2? Reina Talvar back into the slipstream, now back to the outside. He's had the race lead stolen away from him. Down into the chicane at 10.8 and 10B before they rise back up the hill, under the bridge, and then down towards the final corner. Talvar gets aggressive, looks to the outside, goes full send, makes the move, and BS Competition retake over the top spot of the race. Down the hill comes Isaac Price, who'll have his teammate Yoni Katia behind, and Reina Talvar goes back to second and then back to first onto the final lap of the race, and Carlos Fenalosa will just steal the final podium spot. It's Talvar on top with Price and Fenalosa behind.
Oh, great stuff. Great stuff. And if any questions as to the race ability after heat number 1, well, questions have now been answered. Who's going to slot in behind? Remember, 5 teams to advance directly into the quarterfinal stage. So with BS Plus, Visceral, and TC Esports all comfortably through, Rafarox and Owls, I think, should be the 2 others, Lewis, that slide their way on through. Everyone else, a second chance race awaits.
That was a thoroughly exciting race, Arjuna, and a race won by Reina Talvar. Visceral will be in second position with Carlos Fenalosa just grabbing that final step on the podium on the run to the line from Yoni Katia. For BS competition, still a solid race with Aidan Walsingham and Thomas Labutile behind in 5th and 6th position. So 1st and 5th for them, 100% good enough to move through into the quarterfinals. For TC Sports and Visceral, definitely for them as well. For Ferox, it's still good. Abe Sentimer and Bruno Clef finish behind Nicholas Arriagada. Between the 2 of them, it's Mark Neela for Owls. So definitely those 4 teams you can see in the top 10 will be the ones moving through, and with Neela finishing in 9th, his teammate not too far behind. So not too far behind, actually down in 18th position. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Thomas Enger Sim Racing might be the 5th team rather to move through. David Cabrera finished in 11th position with Martin Varga for Thomas Enger Sim Racing. Either side of Manuel Vera, it's Wojciech Dvorak in 14th position. So 12th and 14th might just be good enough for Thomas Eng Sim Racing. I'm sure Arjuna's trying to run some numbers there. HCE Sports Manachi will finish in 15th, just ahead of Peter Viknovsky in 16th position. Then it's Rodriguez, Frisia, then Vilches and Cuneo in 20th position. The final runnings will have Lavragi, Roig and Elgin across the line. Visceral Esports disconnection, we believe, for Christoph Gorekas, an absolute motorsport asset. We spoke about it before. They should have been in this race. They will be in the second chance race, where one of their drivers will be able to potentially move their way through into the final. We are joined by Reina Talvar, though, our race winner in that race. Great race. You had to steal that one back, though, on the last lap. That was very different than what we saw in Heat 1. What was that like for you? Great racing.
No, yeah, it was pretty fun. Isaac didn't put up too much of a fight, I felt like, as well, as there's no point to really take too many risks at this stage. But the reason he got the move on me was actually because I had a little bit of a wheel disconnect coming out of turn 5, so I'll have to look to get that resolved for the next races.
I was going to say, at least you got a little bit of time with the second chance race going on to try and figure out what the problem was. Out of curiosity, you know, drivers that race in Heat 2, you've got Heat 1 to potentially watch, to maybe give you some ideas as to what the race is like. Do you ever do that in this kind of competition? Do you ever see what happens in Heat 1 to kind of understand some of the variables, or do you just kind of go with your own practice and say it doesn't really matter, you'll figure it out in the race?
Well, to be honest, I looked a little bit what the quali times were, just to get the reference a little bit, but obviously right before the race we had the official practice as well, where you get a little bit of an idea. But once the race starts in Heat 1, it's basically a full push for your own heat, so there's not too much time to analyze what others are doing.
BS competition coming into this, you know, we were talking about some of the teams that are favourites, maybe at a bare minimum to get into the final. Obviously Williams, you know, we throw in there. We're kind of talking, obviously you lot are very much a team that we expect to be in there. What are your expectations from tonight? Is it you're here with a focus of winning, or would even getting into the final be still a solid night if you can contend for the win?
Well, obviously we're aiming for the win here, but Atlanta sometimes does its own thing, with qualifying being so tricky around here and also the racing being super close, so you never know. So we have our fingers crossed and we just try to do our best from our own side and see what happens.
Well, Reina, best of luck with, for one, obviously moving through into the quarterfinals. We'll talk to you probably a little bit later on tonight. And for two, with sorting out you will. Fingers crossed.
Well, thank you, guys.
There we go. Nice to hear. Nice to hear. He's obviously, again, pretty pacey in that one. Bit of concern about the wheel disconnect.
It's never what you want, but I guess, like you said, it happens now in the first heat. He had the teammates in the good position, Lewis, to back him up as well if things had gone wrong. So, you know, no foul, I guess, at least for what happened. And a much more interesting heat, too, that now has me excited for the second chance race that stands in front of us, because these are going to be teams that were fighting in the mid-pack, the tail end of those heat races, and now have really got to try and put something together to fight in one of our quarterfinals.
Yeah, I think Heat 1 gave us a little bit of concern that maybe this was actually going to be a tough racing situation. But I've got to say that race restored that faith. And I know, obviously, sitting there that, yes, there was the technical difficulty for Rainer Talbot on the final lap. I still think Isaac Price might have been close enough to maybe do something on that final lap. But regardless, it was an exciting race, and we should be able to grab some highlights from Heat 2. Highlights from Heat 2. It was a poor start from Carlos Fenalosa from pole position, which allowed Rainer Talbot to take over the race into the opening corner. For Absolute Motorsport Asalith, there was a double retirement and disqualification after being in the wrong heat. They would have to move their way into the second chance race. We had some great moves coming up the order. We had some pretty aggressive overtaking as well, going through the S's section. Plenty of drivers putting it all on the line. Varga out way towards the barrier and asking for an awful lot. The VS competition duo of Aidan Walsingham and Tomas Lebutele sitting behind their teammate who was running strong at the front. For Thomas Eng Sim Racing, there was some door banging happening as they were trying to work their way into one of the transfer spots. And on the final lap of the race, a great fight between Rainer Talbot and Isaac Price saw it go the way of Talbot, Price and Fenalosa, the top three.
Great racing, even with a bit of a technical blip. I love how quickly Rainer Talbot was able to get back into that, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones. Yeah, I think that's one of the ones that proves when you're a good driver, right? When you're one of the best on the platform. When you have a technical problem, and as soon as it comes back, you're like, boom, I'm ready to go. And that kind of, I think that's one of the things that kind of almost comes from endurance racing to a degree. You know, when they jump into the car at 3 o'clock in the morning, having done no practice in the last few hours, and they're instantly on the speed. They don't miss apex. They're absolutely at the limit of the car. You and I will jump in. It'll take us a good lap to get even remotely back to where we were, whereas these drivers can do it after even just a corner of an issue.
Yeah, and it goes to what makes sim racing different from real world racing, right? Is the metronomic ability of these drivers to punch in those lap times. Something that I'm hoping is going to be disrupted when we get to the finals. You've already kind of mentioned to it, alluded to it when you and I were talking before we went live, hoping for some chaos in some of the races, especially down to turn 1 on the start. But we haven't really seen too much of that, except for Isaac Price getting the rocket of the start and being pushed almost into the grass. It's been rather coordinated inside of the front half of the field on our runs up to turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously Fenalosa got I think he bogged down rather than got any wheels and didn't see much smoke off it. Quite easy to do. Obviously just didn't have quite enough throttle on, but they're actually quite difficult to start. These tyres, when they're cold, I'm not joking. If you come out of the pit lane, or at least this is how it used to be, if you come out of the pit lane with your throttle pedal completely down, and you get that wheel spin in first gear, and then you shift up, and then shift up, and shift again, you can get wheel spin in 4th gear. It's crazy. Hilarious. By the way, we think Visceral might have been dealt a little bit of a blow of bad luck. We have an answer as to what happened to Christoph Kirikus in that race. It wasn't just a normal disconnection. That he's lost electricity on his whole street. That's why he's retired from the heat. And if you lose electricity, quite unlikely that it's just going to be like, oh, it'll pop back on before the final. So they might be down to just the 2 drivers of Isaac Price and Yoni Callet, which to be fair, still not a bad lineup.
Well, this is where there are some drivers that do have like UPS systems and all of that, but there's an issue with that, which is you may have power for your computer. What happens if the infrastructure powering your internet stops working as well? Then you're in trouble, right? So there's only so much you can do to try and cover yourself in these sort of situations. I think like it goes to what we were talking about briefly with some of the other 2 driver lineups though. Now what's going to happen is if one of them has an issue, they are going to be left without a chance to fight back. Once we get to the quarterfinal stage, there's no second chance race to get into the semis, no second chance race to get into the finals, right? So it's a very different sort of situation. Although I will say it's just as unpredictable as what you get during the Nordschleife. We had the 24 hours of the Nürburgring last weekend, and Timo Glock lost his Nordschleife. Well, no, the reason I bring it up is he lost his Nordschleife permit during the race. So think about that. Losing a driver for a 24-hour race mid-race because they went and broke the rules.
Who was it? Who should have been? Who was it? Was it Bortolotti last year? He was getting himself.
Oh, let's not get me started on that one.
That's a naughty one. Either way, before let's talk about where we've been here tonight, Arjuna.
Oh, it's been an interesting story. This is the Heat 1 standings, which are confirmed. Now, remember, we didn't get to see Absolute Motorsport Astless, so it's 92 and Samantha Town Racing Esports that will go to that SCR. Yes, Motorsports, Team Nitro, EMM, Vitality, and Williams F1 Team Gaming all going to now be watching on to see who joins them in the quarterfinals. And I believe these are provisional. We have one race control review, which is still going through, but tied at the top, Lewis, for Heat 2.
Yeah, look, it's super tight. BS Competition, Visceral, TC, Ferox, and Owls. Obviously, great to see, but look at that for Owls and Thomas Eng at Sim Racing, both on 26 points, courtesy of the higher position of that race with that top 10 finish that came in from Mark Neela. Should be enough for Owls to, well, I say should be enough, will be enough for Owls to move through into the quarterfinals. And Thomas Eng Sim Racing, despite having some solid positions there just outside the top 10, they are going to have to go into that second chance race, one of their drivers, and a battle for all of those to fight over just two teams. And then we all start to say goodbye to teams for the night, which is always the scary. You don't want to be one of those first teams to go out.
No, and in that list, remember, we do have a team inside of the top 5 in points. So for 92 Esports, that's why I mentioned that we might have some teams that were on their now less preferred platforms after starting the season on games and sims where they knew the points would be at a somewhat ease to come by. They're now a bit more difficult to earn. Thomas Eng, HGE, and Customs GT along with 0 Point Racing not here tonight. They will effectively be one of those teams already eliminated. It leaves us with 5 teams going into the second chance race, if my math holds correct, and 2 to move forward, right, Lewis?
Yes, I believe so. So we should have 12 teams in the quarterfinal, 5 from each heat, and then 2 from the second chance. I think the second chance race is going to be brutal, by the way.
Now that we've talked about how many teams there are going to be for the quarterfinals, I'm also now thinking about how many drivers are going to be starting on that hill.
Yeah.
Because it will be a few more added to the fun, and that means balancing your brake, your throttle, your handbrake all at the same time. I've only got 2 feet and 2 hands. I'm not sure how I would do that.
Yeah, but these days, right? This is where it's easier these days, right? Quite a lot of these drivers, not all of them, but quite a lot of wheels these days that you get your hand clutch, right? I remember that was never a thing back in my day. Were you talking about a hand clutch? No, it always used to be.
You went all northern there for a second. You and O'Leary mode on us.
Back in my day. Oh goodness me, I'm laughing on all the northern stuff. Clearly, I've eaten a bad pie or something. No, you'd have to balance. Your brake pedal would have to be your right foot, and you'd have to somehow find the throttle pedal with like almost heel toe in it. You got to find the clutch bite point with your left. Now you can just have both feet, one on the throttle, one on the brake, and then your hand clutch does the rest. These, if you know, my wheel's got 2 hand clutches, so you can find the right bite point and then just lift off one of them, and it goes straight to the point you want to be in. Basically cheating.
We're grabbing a look at some of the moments of our racing so far. Our second chance race has just moved in to qualifying, so a crucial, I would say, lap for our drivers to put together. Shout out, by the way, to Joshua Lee helping us with all of this replay coverage alongside our producer Hugo Luis. Also a shout out to Gary Paravani, somewhere around the virtual Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
Is he?
And yeah, he's perched himself up and he's taking photos. The only other normal-sized person in motorsports, it turns out.
I love Gary. I wonder if he's going to be at Alton Park. Gary, give me a shout. Are you going to be at Alton Park at the weekend for British GT? Bumped into him a couple of times at Silverstone. He's a good lad. He actually, I'm not going to lie, I can't use the exact words that I used, but I was on the grid walk for British GT at Silverstone for the Silverstone 300. He scared the life out of me. You can change the word as you wish. Came behind me whilst I was just looking at a car. I think he just jabbed me in the side. Honestly, I was terrified. Thought I was getting mugged.
there are not many more precious memories that I have in terms of my photo reel than a Gary Paravani picture of me interviewing someone. I don't know about you, I'm
never taken
terrible.
a photograph of me.
There you go. That shows how good friends you are with him. Gary, miss your photos. Hope we get you back over here stateside sooner rather than later. Ruby Nekamata for Samantha Tanner Racing Esports down under the bridge and starts the lap.
Why are there two Absolute Motorsport Asslith cars on the grid? Or is that just a logo problem? I don't know. But
no, you are correct. But Krakowski is not out there on track, so maybe a miscommunication there.
That's fine. Just that every team should only have the single driver out onto the circuit. Single as in only one of them. I don't know about their relationship status. But Ruby Nakamata up the hill into turn 5, picks up that curb on the right-hand side. Actually had a pretty solid lap in the heats in heat number 1 a little bit earlier on. Needs to be able to stick that lap back onto the board again. Only 2 teams from this will progress their way through.
Patient on power, and you could see the reaction there. Not unhappy, but maybe not the most happy with it either. It's so tempting to stamp on the loud pedal, but when the front wheels are doing the turning as well, they can't go straight and right at the same time with their full force. Even the best of the Michelin tires underneath you in qualifying. Down the hill, gravity working against you as you fall away. Had to be patient there and wait on throttle, and I think track limits may have also been a concern. Lap finishes, and with only 2 teams to move forward, we know qualifying will be important. A 1:27.1. Nakamata is only 4/10 off of what Alessandro Porta's been able to put together.
Yeah, I mean, look, the lap times we were seeing from the heats, you're looking at those mid to low 26s. So for Alessandro Porta, 26.7. It's like I say, it's relatively tight. Into the darkness for Francesco Mansacchi. Can you drive in that level of darkness?
No, but it's not quite Bobby Zelensky level of darkness, right?
That is blackout curtains galore.
To be fair, that's eNASCAR-worthy strategies, so, you know, might need to steal them.
I can't do it. I've said this time and time again. I cannot race in pure darkness. Now it's lit up really nicely, and now back into the darkness. That's weird.
It was always fun during the IndyCar iRacing Pro Series. Michele Costantini, obviously Europe racing at 2 and 3 in the morning there. His webcam would be, because of the exposure obviously, but everything in the background would be so dark. And then his monitor would just blind you, and it was incredible. Anyway, we're getting off topic. One final time to be set alongside of Francesco Mansacchi, who we're watching now. David Salada is out there on track for 92 Esports, and that's a time to watch. Remember, in the top 5 in points, they do not want to be eliminated at the first time of asking. A 1:26.7 to beat. Not be beat by Mansacchi. 8/10 off. Now where's David Salada, the final driver in this qualifying session?
What was the time there from Alessandro Porta?
26.7.
6-7. Oh, I hate myself.
Oh,
sorry.
Shy.
Hey.
Right
will not
click.
get his lap onto the board. I hate myself. Oh, it was really poor. Either way, 2 cars will be able to move their way through from this one, and here's your starting grid.
Alessandro Porta for Absolute Motorsport Asslith. The first time you've actually seen them in anger. Pole position in the second charts race, along of Thomas Eng Sim Racing and Samantha Tan Racing Esports with HGE Racing Esports split row 2. Customs GT and Owls Esports, then the 6-car field in this second chance race. David Salada will be at the back of the field with no time on the board. So 7 cars represented in this do-or-die race. And in many ways, I think do-or-die for 92 Esports, Lewis. If they don't advance from here, it's going to be difficult come RaceRoom to put themselves back into contention.
Yeah, I mean, look, as much as they were in a solid position on the outside looking inshore, but they were right there or thereabouts for those top 4 positions. This was always going to be the round where they were going to get knocked out of that top grouping. But they can still rescue it a little bit. They can still keep themselves roughly in the mix, and you never know how things are going to unfold on RaceRoom. It's a platform that's still a relative unknown for some of the teams on the field, even some of those ones inside that top four. It is seriously, it's a do or die race for them. And remember, 2 teams go through, everyone else will be saying goodbye to for the rest of tonight. And from this point on, it is knockout central. There is no more second chance races after this.
I think at the very least for Customs GT, rather for 92 Esports, with the field in front of them, including that Customs GT green Hyundai Elantra. You don't want to be thinking on the negative, but if you're not going to finish in the top 2, you have to finish third. There is no question about that. A little bit of a wait, and only a 10-minute race here, Lewis, so less time for these drivers to really attack this last chance.
Yeah, exactly. Slightly shorter than the previous race. Well, actually, because the 2 minutes shorter, it will end up being 2 laps shorter than the previous race. Close to 3, but should just be the 2 laps shorter. Not quite as much time to go out on the attack. Not quite as much opportunity, but still plenty to do. Getting a good look at some of the cars, and again that run down towards turn 1.
Right, here we go. Do or die, second chance race opportunity on iRacing here. The Esports Racing League, a slow start from third for Samantha Tan Racing Esports, but Alessandra Porter launches away from pole position quite nicely. Judges the jump start for Victor Conejo. That means Customs GT Day may already be done.
Whoa.
And plenty of contact. Menchachi sends Dvorak off the track. Nakamata slips up the second through all of that. Crucially, David Salada up to third, and now staring at the transfer spots up the road.
Yeah, and obviously the mistake that Salada had in the Heat 1 down into 10A and 10B at the chicane at the end of the backstretch cost them the hope of even potentially moving through. We'll see if Salada can get past on Ruby Nakamata, or maybe if Nakamata might try something here on Alessandro Porter and maybe even open the opportunity. And normally we'd sit here, our junior, and we'd say, look, you're in second position, you 2 transfer spots to move through. I wouldn't necessarily worry about which side of the coin you're on, whether you're first or second. But I've got to say, with how this race is, with how close David Salada is, I kind of think you have to force the issue a little bit. You have to kind of try and get through. If you don't, you're just going to be attacked yourself.
Agree. I think there is no room to sit back in a 10-minute race. Not going to see too much opportunity cost of heating your tires up early. Porter defensive to the chicane. That was aggressive with track limits there. Might have got away with it as they now cut back under the bridge, down to the line. David Salada showed the nose, thought better of it, but there's a front 3 that's breaking away right now. Remember, Conejo with the penalty is going to be brought down to pit lane inside of the next 2 laps, so we'll draw him out of the equation. Let's see how much of a gap these 3 can build to anyone behind.
Nakamata out a little bit wide at the opening corner there. Salada wasn't able to close too much on the race up the hill through 3, now through the S's, which inexplicably is turn 4. The entirety of it, no joke. Here we are into 5. That's how you know. And a big slide coming in from the Elantra directly ahead of Ruby Nakamata. Just sliding a little bit over the apex at turn 5, allowing David Salada to close in and look for that move, but that opportunity is not there at the moment. However, the slipstream from Nakamata to Porter is not going to be as strong as it will be from Salada to Nakamata ahead.
So the draft keeps you close, but maybe not guarantees you an opportunity. In Heat 2, we saw some mistakes here and there. Let's see if there will be a couple more of those. With 7 minutes left on the clock, should be about a 7-lap race according to estimations. No livery for Samantha Tan Racing Esports. I want to give a message of support from our entire team here at VCO to Cam, the part of the team management at Samantha Tan Racing Esports. Part of his family going through some health issues, and so Cam's supporting them. So we wish Cam and his family the best in this fight. And the team coming together this week with a little less preparation maybe than normal. Not seeing one of the Samantha Tan Racing art cars, but I'm sure that livery back on display in a couple of weeks' time when we transition over to RaceRoom. And I can't wait for that, Lewis, because it's going to be in a very interesting car, in a DTM historic machine, which I'm hoping is going to lead to some great racing. Touring cars as well, we should say.
Well, the awkward bit, I don't think we will get liveries on RaceRoom courtesy how the racing platform works. No, because you can't. There's no custom liveries on it unless you race in DTM Esports and whatnot, because they have to put it directly into the game. It's a complicated thing. We'll deal with that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. It'll be one of the bits that we'll have to get over, so everyone will be driving in the Martini livery. It'll be fun. Either way, Ruby Necamata now back on to the rear end of Alessandro Porta. Here comes the attack for the race lead. Looks to the inside. 5 minutes and 50 seconds left to go. It should be about 4 laps at the line. Down the inside into the chicane. There comes the move, and it's brilliant. Superb move from Ruby Necamata to take over the race lead for Samantha Tan Racing. Now the pressure is going to come from David Salada, who is right there at the final corner.
And they've got the separation crucially to fight. They don't have to worry about HGE and Thomas Eng Sim Racing. And so now Salada pops himself to the inside as they shovel out through the right-hander of turn 1. The fast sweeper climb the hill. Door handle to door handle. They'll enter into turn 3. And David Salada is going to push his way through. He shoved himself onto the grass, turning himself on the nose of Alessandro Porta, who dives back down into second as they sweep into the S's. Crucially, Necamata now 2 seconds in the good.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think that was a little bit of a racing incident there between Salada and Porta. Obviously Salada got ahead and then kind of shut the door on the exit, but like there's still an overlap there, there's still a car there. So when Salada's gone straight over, it's kind of like, what were you expecting to happen there? And so I think that's in my opinion, Arjuna, I think that's relatively fair in a sense. Whether race control get involved and dish out a penalty, we have to wait and see. But I think kind of the penalty's already been dealt with in the sense that Salada's back behind Porter and has to do it again.
Agree. I question sometimes your choice of place in making the move. Oh, Wojciech Dvorak has speared himself into the side of Francesco Menchachi. Well, fortunately, the penalty has already been paid out to the car that maybe overcommits down into the braking zone, but neither here nor there. There's 4 minutes left to go. That should mean 3 laps left to settle who makes it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and at the moment, Samantha Tan Racing with Ruby Necamata having made that move at just the prime opportune moment has pulled out a very healthy gap indeed, and I would suspect from this point on there is going to be no conversation as to who's winning this race. Ruby Necamata will be the one to do so unless there's a costly mistake late on. These drivers, they're all generally good enough to hang on to where they are. They don't deal with the same level of mistakes that you or I do. Alessandro Porta stares back into the mirror. David Salada right onto the rear end. There is going to be some form of opportunity. Maybe down to turn 7, maybe down into 10A and 10B. Alessandro Porta drifts wide from the apex. Going to cost a little bit of speed in the exit of the corner. We'll slam that throttle pedal down earlier. And we'll build that slight gap in the acceleration zone.
And you saw the gap visually increase as well. There was no question. The wider arc through the corner, even with the pressure in the mirrors, it's helped out the Absolute Motorsport Hyundai Elantra. Back down the inside comes the blue and yellow highlighter wing mirrors, but still Porter's able to sweep through. The up and under attempted as they cut back down to the final corner of the lap. 2 laps left to go. The lead not growing by that much, only about 8/10 on that last lap. These two aren't necessarily costing each other enough time to bring HGE back into the mix. And that's crucially what David Salada is thinking about every time he goes for the opportunity. Not close enough into turn 3 this time around. No deja vu.
Can I just say, you can see it from that onboard. It's actually the thing that I absolutely despise about this car. It's a touring car, right? It's a touring car. It's a very normal touring car. What wheels it got? Oh, it's got a Formula rim. It's more of a GT rim. Why? It's a touring car. Give it a round rim and send it. What are you talking about with this nonsense? Get out of here. Anyway, rant over. David Salada, you're right. I think he's got the opportunity to go on the attack here without the worry of Menkatsi to close. I don't think the HG Esports car is going to be able to close and get on the attack. The only way that they're getting through is if these two collide. By the way, not impossible, you know, but Solana needs to make this move, and it needs to be pretty soon. We're only on the penultimate lap of the race. We've only got one more left to go after this, so the opportunities are ticking by every apex that passes them.
Oh, you'll be so proud of me. I snuck in an ante-penultimate into one of my broadcasts recently, and I just had to for you. One lap to go. I knew you'd love it. 3.5 seconds. Samantha Tan Racing Esports are moving forward. There's not much question about that. Oh, Alessandro Porta is proactive with the defense to the inside. David Salada saw a door around the outside, and now, crucially, up to turn 3, find himself get pinched onto the curb. Stick himself around the outside is a dangerous place to be now as you drop down into the S's. You can race wheel to wheel here around the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, but Alessandro Porta, has he done enough?
Great fight between the pair of them, leaving it all on the line. Just about enough space given this time through turn 3. Now the run into 6. Bit of disappearing there coming in from David Solada. And now just a couple of corners before that infamous backstretch and the race down into the chicane. 4.1 seconds. Ruby Nekamata is leading the race and will run all the way to the checkered flag with relative ease. But for these two, that final transfer spot, one of these teams will be ending their journey here and now for tonight. The other one will be moving through into the quarterfinals. Who's it going to be? Porter or Solada?
One final opportunity for a team inside of the top 5 in points to ensure themselves a spot in the quarterfinal. Alessandro Porta is going to force David Solada the long way around. You can do it though at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta as he boxes his way forward. Solada tries the touch to the right rear as they drop down out of the final corner. Ruby Nekamata wins for Samantha Tan Racing Esports, and Alessandro Porta holds on to bring Absolute Motorsport Aslith into the quarterfinals.
Got the move done at exactly the right time. Did Ruby Nekamata to put Samantha Tan Racing into those quarterfinals. Alessandro Porta was able to hold firm and keep David Solada at bay. I think he was trying something out through the final chicane. A bit of leaning, but I think did lift out of it. Felt that one was going to be unfair and was going to be overturned by race control anyway, so you might as well at least be on the right side of history with that one. I've got to say, superb race, superb drive from Nekamata.
Nice to see. Some drivers don't need to take advantage of mistakes as well. After causing chaos, David Solada maybe doesn't take advantage of it, and Alessandro Porta, Ruby Nekamata will move forward with their teams to a quarterfinal opportunity. It means for 92 Esports, for HGE Racing Esports, Thomas Eng Sim Racing, Customs GT, and for Owls Esports, penultimate round of the Esports Racing League season is in the books, and now just a trip to RaceRoom awaits. Lewis, how quickly the season has come to an end, but let's quickly catch up with race winner Ruby Nekamata. And Ruby, what a move to make your way through in the 3-way fight for the lead. Talk to us about that opportunity.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous and I was really frustrated after the first heat, so I decided I'm just going to throw everything on the kitchen table. I don't know how the saying goes. I'm still pretty pumped, but yeah. I just went for it, and whatever happened, and thankfully everything worked out, and I think in the end it was just about being consistent and no mistakes, and I did just that. So yeah, now I got to get ready for the next round, and yeah, I mean, pretty much now I'm just happy to be here. So yeah, thank you.
Does that mean that in the quarterfinal, expecting a bit more chaos, then you'll maybe not get so agitated with some of the action that we're expecting?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to be chill, and if anything happens, I'm just going to let it happen. I'm just going to go through like nothing. So that's going to be my strategy. Just finish the race at this point.
Already got a highlight for the day. Great victory. See you in the quarterfinal coming up next.
So thank you so much.
Victory in the second chance race, and a decisive move, like Lewis and myself had pointed out, brings Samantha Tan Racing Esports forward. Decisive defense as well from Alessandro Porta. Gets the job done though, Lewis. And so great job for him, and really what was the first time we saw the team today in a competitive sense.
Yeah, exactly. After issues with signing up and actually being in one of the heats, they didn't get to take part in either. So our first time seeing the Absolute Motorsport Aslith team is a position to move through into the quarterfinals. As to what they can do over the rest of the night, Who knows? I've got to say, love hearing there from Ruby. Basically, this race is I'm going to go there and have a good time, and just see what happens. If we're on the right side of it, cool. If we're not on the right side of it, sure, whatever. Like, I like that mentality. There's kind of nothing to lose, really.
And to be honest, Lewis, you can disagree with me if you do, but I feel like the most success in real world racing comes when I talk to a driver and they have that mentality, when they're not so agitated on focusing on a decision and a specific outcome, but instead when they're taking the weekend in stride and just letting things come to them, because real world racing is quite unpredictable. And I think that's something the Esports Racing League quite accurately carries over, even with a very different format to real world motorsports, is that unpredictability that you have to be okay with.
Well, I mean, we even heard a little bit earlier on in the night from Rainer Talvar that, and Alessandro Bica both kind of said the same thing. You just never really know what this circuit's going to dish out. This circuit, this sim, this car. Sometimes you can sit there and be like, we're definitely going to be a finalist. Other times you might sit there and be like, oh, we're out of it already.
Well, let's take a look at some of the moments from our second chance race. Final chance for 6 teams to make it forward to the quarterfinals, and through turn 1, plenty of contact. HEE Esports making contact with Thomas Eng Sim Racing. It allowed Samantha Tan Racing to slip through. And Ruby Nekamata then put the bit between her teeth and got to work, closing in on the race leading Alessandro Porta. And the Absolute Motorsport Aslith Hyundai tried to defend, but eventually a crucial move from Nekamata slipped through the Samantha Tan car and allowed David Salado to begin his own offense for the second and final transfer spot in the quarterfinals. Contact behind saw Wojciech Dvorak spin himself around, and we saw a couple of half moments in that fight for second, including in each of the final couple of laps as Salado went each way than the other. All in vain, though, as Porter held on to second and a crucial spot in the quarterfinals. And so confirmation on at least provisional results. Still waiting for the protest window to come to an end. But I think, Lewis, you said it best. Maybe David Salado saw the contact, didn't want to force the issue on track, and redressed anything himself.
Yeah, like I said, I think it would always... If he'd have made a move from that, it would always have just been reverted by race control. Kind of one of those ones. There's no point in taking your chance with it. Just sit there and be like, look, it is what it is. We'll be moving on into the quarterfinals once that's all fully finalised. But I don't think that there was any mistakes coming from the Absolute Motorsport Aslith team. So that's not going to change. And there certainly wasn't any issues from Samantha Tan Racing. So that's not really going to change. Any issues might come from some of those lower down, but they do also, we have to get that all sorted, because obviously 3rd through 7th, well, they are adding their points into the championship standings because they are done for the night. Everyone else will follow when they respectively get knocked out or indeed get into the final and win.
And we're getting closer and closer with this new format for 2026. We don't extend the next part of the night as long, and so 1 quarterfinal race, 1 semi-final race, and then 1 3-team final. That's what stands between us and crowning the best team on iRacing in the 2026 Esports Racing League. And crucially, with just 1 more round to go after this before our trip to our in-person finale in the month of July on the last garage. Increasingly closer to finding out which teams will be there. And for 92 Esports, this is a, well, do we want to call it the death blow, Lewis? Because it feels like it in so many ways.
Yeah, I think it kind of is. Their chances of... I think they would have come into the season expecting not to be one of those top 4. Yeah, fair enough. I think them kind of coming into it expecting to be one of those top 4 teams might have been a little bit deluded. I think the fact that they've done so well in the opening 2 rounds of this championship has shown that maybe they are a team to focus on, at least in future seasons. The Esports Racing League, they certainly had stepped up a lot this season, especially in those opening 2 rounds, and I think it's been a great run for them. But there's only 4 teams that go through of the 20 that we, 17 that we've got. That is not a high percentage. So to be on that side of history it's rare.
It is very, very hard sometimes for us to think about 4 teams across of what can be such an unpredictable season. Consistency at the end of the day is so important. Think back last year to, well, now known as Vitality, but R8G last year alongside of Kawanda. Both had individual round successes, Lewis, but unable to piece it all together and found themselves watching from the sidelines for our Final Four.
Yeah, and I remember you saying earlier on this evening, Arjuna, where you were like, I think it was something on the lines of, if you get into the top 3, if you get into the final in 3 of the 4 rounds, you're probably getting through into our top 4. And then I'm sat there thinking, I'm like, wait, whoa. I think Commander win like 2 or 3 of these things last season. They still weren't in the top 4. There's no guarantees.
That was 2 of 5, so I think if you had 3 or 4...
But they won the final of the other one. I think they got into 3 finals.
That's true. Now, did they get eliminated before... I remember R8G got eliminated in round 1 during the second chance race, because that was a surprise. Did Kawanda do that as well, is maybe the question.
I think they definitely struggled at one point. This is my point only, is that just because you get into the finals of 3 of the sims doesn't mean that you're guaranteed that top spot. Like we've said before, there's no win and you're in. It is purely done on points and being the top 4 on the points. And one round, one mistake, one issue in a round can genuinely ruin your entire championship. This format is way more brutal than it initially seems, because over every night, like I said, the second chance race is over. We do not have another second chance. If you're knocked out, that's it.
And are you ready for the most brutal race of the night, Lewis? The most cars on track, the most jeopardy as well, because let's not forget, no second chance race after this. It is do or die in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, this is going to be a big moment for our teams and their attempts to move into our season finale, where one of us will be a year older, the other one waiting for that birthday. I'll be 31 years old when the season finale happens. I'm getting old, mate.
I'll be 32.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay.
Look,
you can still call me old. I'll let you do it.
Yeah, we've both definitely reached Unk status. That's why the 6-7 joke earlier absolutely hits. Anyway, plenty of cars out on the circuit. 4 minutes of qualifying. That means there is just the single lap here, and we've got BS competition. Obviously, Outforce Williams, we're expected to be strong here. Visceral, we've got the news, and you can see him there. He's the 6th name on the tower, Christoph Korekis. As we were making that announcement, he'd lost the power on his road. The power came back. We'll keep our fingers crossed that remains the case for the rest of the night. We'll talk about him as little as possible, as to not risk this dreaded commentator's curse.
I was going to say,
absolute rubbish.
You don't believe in it, so you better mention his name every single time we see him.
Christoph Korekis, the person that currently has power on his street.
That's not asking for trouble, right?
No, it's because it's total rubbish. He won't lose. Oh no, after that. I was about to say he won't lose power for the rest of the night. But I'm like, actually, I'm not playing that game. Either way, moving on. Woo.
This one lap in qualifying, by the way, may be the most important, again, of the night because of how many cars there are. For some of the 2 driver teams, think of Samantha Tan Racing Esports as the example, Lewis. If you have one driver up front but one driver at the back, it's almost a non-starter. So let's wait and see. Crucial exits out of turn 7 coming.
Yeah, and it's an important run, the most important run of the night, potentially. We'll have to wait and see how things are going to be in the final when it comes to types of qualifying. And Aidan Walsingham not particularly happy with his run through turn 7. We are expecting low 26s to be the talk of the town when it comes to these drivers crossing the line. What can BS competition do? They looked fantastic earlier on in the hands of Rainer Talbar to take that victory in that thrilling fight with Isaac Price in heat number 2. Dropping down the hill. Aidan Walsingham across the line. The first times to come onto the board. They'll come in quick fire, rapid fire here. 26.5. That ain't going to be pole. The booth lays faster with a 4.20. What other times are we going to get? 4.08 from Isaac Price. 2.80 from Christoph Korekis. Thibaut Gazouan goes into second position. Straight to the top goes Carlos Penalosa for the second time tonight with a 26.160.
Some quick times, I gotta say. Back down to the line for Michi Tauscher. He needs to stand tall for Team Nitro, given where so many other teams have put themselves. And look at that, to the outside of the front row by 88 thousandths of a second. Some of the iRacing non-specialists have really put in a good shift so far tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great lap from Michi Tauscher. Faster than I was expecting to see him go this evening, but look, did a cracking job. Still got a fair few lap times to come in. Interestingly, Rainer Talvar is one of those drivers that we yet to see onto this enormous board of times. And also the other two Team Nitros, we've not seen them across the board, so we'll have to wait and see. And well, from my eyes, yeah, Rainer Talvar's done. Rainer Talvar has not set a time.
He's track limits himself, Lewis. He would have been on for a lap that would have put him 8th on the board. BS Plus really relying on that. They've got lots and lots of work to do. In terms of Team Nitro, I think one of their drivers is still out there, so we may get some sort of improvement. Leon Burt's down in 23rd. Just wait for Klinkmuller to come to the line. But for Absolute Motorsport, as they grab a second chance after salvaging their hopes in the second chance race, Krakowski, 128. Doesn't even count. I don't think it did.
I think even I could have beaten that time, I'm not going to lie. Either way, Niels Klinkmuller will be the next one through. 37.7 in the first sector. That is about 6/10 down on where he needs to be. And I was going to say, I think he might have abused track limits earlier on in the qualifying session, and that time will not count. Despite the excellent qualifying time from his teammate Michi Tauscher to put them onto the front row, it's not going to be a good qualifying from Team Nitro. Fenalosa, though, for the second time tonight, it's going to be a run from P1. Will he be able to get the start proper? He'll be starting from pole position alongside Michi Tauscher. Christoph Karakas has got his power back and now finishes the qualifying session in third alongside Alessandro Bico for Williams F1 Team Gaming. Then it's EMM and Vitality making it 6 different teams in the top 6. Chadwick and Kazamon alongside. Darren McCormack is a second of the EMM, the first repeat team. David Sabero in 8th position. Actually got a time under the board of this qualifying session with Isaac Price and Yoni Katia rounding out row number 5 for Visceral. Williams F1 Team Gaming of Dominic Blyant will start alongside Thomas Leboutelet. Still got 24 cars to get through. Matej Koisner will start from 13th position with Aria Garda from 14th. Kalef, Goyer, Walsingham and Abe Sentiment for Averox from 18th position. The top 20 rounded out by Marcel Chinchik and Ruby Nekamata after that fantastic drive to win the second chance race. Yuri Toma for Vitality down in 21st. Disappointment for the Gran Turismo team winners. He'll be starting alongside Albert Roig in 22nd. Leon Burnt, the second of those Team Nitro cars that will be starting on the front row as well in the hands of Michi Tauscher. Galkas will start from 24th alongside for Yes Motorsport. Then it's Joachim Frieser with Marcelo Caserta, Eljon, Loverink, then Schuniger, and then Rainer Talvar. First driver not to set a time. Absolute Motorsport Aslith, Yes Motorsports, Owls, Team Nitro, and the second of the Absolute Motorsport Aslith teams, Krakowski. A lot of work for those to do after moving through from the second chance race. We've got the cars onto the grid. It is an enormous field. They will be starting all the way up that hill, Arjuna, and what I'm sure is going to be a chaotic race. 6 teams to progress through into the semi-final.
And that's where for the Vitality team in particular, they're right on that bubble. So it's going to be a difficult launch operation as we get the final 30 seconds of the countdown ticking away. Gotta wonder what the team managers have said to these drivers now as they all slot in there. Fate now set by qualifying, how aggressive they need to be, how conservative in some cases the third drivers may need to be. We're back to 12 minutes on the clock, maybe 9 laps of racing, and hopefully some great racing to come.
Thibaut Courtois' esports team, I'm sure they'll be passing on the notes to Carlos Fenalosa. Please get this start right. We cannot be bogging down, cannot be getting that wheel spin, cannot be dragging in the drama of those from behind. He'll be starting alongside Michi Tauscher on the front row of the grid. Quarterfinal ready to go here in the VCO Esports Racing League. It is once again a poor start from Carlos Fenalosa. Michi Tauscher will immediately take the race lead into the opening corner. Before we've even got there, though, they're being joined by Christoph Karakas. It's 3 wide, a few rows deep. Look at that from Alessandro Bico, sweeping straight through for Williams, up into the race lead by 0.2 of a second into the opening corner. It's once again a poor start from Carlos Fenalosa that leaves the TC Esports man languishing down in 7th. They try and find their way single file into turn 3, but it is Alessandro Bico leading from Tauscher, Chadwick, Karakas and McCormack.
Might have actually been a worse start for Carlos Fenellosa. You'd think that they'd be getting better as we go deeper into the night, as the starts become more important, but Biko back up front, and we knew already how good he can be at controlling the tempo of this race. His teammates a little bit further behind than they were in the heat, and so there's a bit more pressure on his shoulders to keep out of trouble and avoid letting that draft build up behind him and games to be played. His teammates trying to work forward. Matteo Kenzer alongside of Yoni Katia for Visceral Esports running down the back straight. That's for 11th and 12th.
Mitchy Tausch is right onto the rear end of Alessandro Biko. This was not on the stats cards going into tonight. Mitchy Tausch are attacking for the race lead against one of iRacing's best. Christoph Karekas trying to get past the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain champion, and does find his way through. Karekas up into third position. Will Chadwick down into fourth, but EMM running strong with fourth and fifth at the moment. Looking back for the other Williams group, it's Cointer trying to vie for 11th position. Labutile comes through on Yoni Katia. For Visceral, though, things are still looking good for them. 3rd and 10th, 6 teams to progress through in this. Williams looking good, EMM looking good, TC looking good, Williams looking good. Visceral up there. I mean, I'm not sure outside of that point. I'm not quick enough on the maths here, Arjuna.
And I don't even want to risk it at this point, given how unpredictable we know these races can still be. Only 2 minutes off the clock, and a quite clean opening start to the race as well. I'm knocking on wood when I say that. Not much for race control to review. And why is that important, Lewis? Because the more they have to review, the longer it takes for us to confirm who moves forward to the semi-finals, right? So all these things will come into play. A bit more action out of turn 5, down the running order as Reina Talvar, after invalidating that qualifying attempt, picking his way through the pieces. Dennis Schoninger passes Ruby Nekamata at the inside at turn 6, but now door-to-door out of 7. Nekamata on the outside is going to have to slot back into line and use the draft.
It's going to be so important for Reina Talvar to try and come through. 12th and 19th. Aidan Walsingham running in 19th position, 26th, as a couple of cars have come to blows. You've got one of the Team Nitros there, the Absolute Motorsport Aslith team, also down the order. As I was saying, Reina Talvar needs to get up there. Aidan Walsingham in 19th position, Thomas Labutile in 12th for BS competition, a team we're expecting to play a pretty major pivotal part here this evening. And not playing a part at the moment. Ruby Nekamata, after such a good race in the previous, will be backwards and down outside the top 30 now, going into 10A and 10B.
That's not the direction the car is meant to be pointed in, and therefore something significant must have gone wrong into what is the best of the passing opportunities. Wait for another look there as we jump back up to Will Chadwick, Dara McCormack. Gotta say, we knew Will Chadwick would have some speed. Dara McCormack not kicking back on his couch anymore with the feet up, controller in hand. Wheel well and truly being worked to good effect right now. Dara McCormack on the pace of Will Chadwick here on iRacing. It's an ominous sign for the rest of the field.
I was going to say, you were talking about this coming into the night of like maybe EMM aren't going to be all this, that,
I know.
And I was like, mate, Dara McCormack is one of the most well-rounded drivers. We've said about this time and time again in seasons of the Esports Racing League, and some of the competitions that he's done, whether it's been moved from a set of course competition over onto RaceRoom. He's a quality driver on Le Mans Ultimate. He's no slouch here. Look, if it's a car, it's got 4 wheels, he can drive it, no problem. I wouldn't even say that that's too much of a thing to hold him back. Quality driver, and say right onto the rear end of one of iRacing's best in Will Chadwick. To be fair, let's be real here, Chads has not exactly been holding back the information, and I'm sure he'll be helping out McCormack a fair shout. But at the moment, it is Alessandro Biko, over 10k rated at the moment, holding on to the front of the field by half a second over Tauscher, Karekas, then Chadwick, then Kazvon. Vitality's, then McCormack, then Vitality's Kazvon, Fenellosa and Sobrero, 7th and 8th. I mean, they'll be bitterly disappointed, because clearly Fenellosa's got some serious speed, just cannot get the car off the line.
But it's part of this car, right? They all knew it would be standing starts. Porsche Esports Super Cup is also standing starts, right? So you've got to learn how to launch these cars, and this is not dissimilar to the real world of touring cars, where some people making that transition over into sprint TCR racing don't quite know how to get the car off the line. So, hopefully something that he'll get a second chance a third chance in this case, to put right in the semi-finals. So definitely something to keep in mind. Also, go back to Dara McCormack for a second. The only reason I'm this surprised is last year in IMSA Esports, Dara and Kevin Ellis Jr. maybe weren't quite on the pace, Lewis, to put it fairly. And this is much more what I would have expected from Dara back then. This is him matching some of the other drivers in his team, although maybe that tells part of the story. Him and Kevin Ellis Jr. coming back onto iRacing with a little less help and experience than some of their competitors in that IMSA esports season.
Also, what car were they driving in? You know, it's not exactly they were driving TCR cars. Maybe this works a little bit better for McCormack. That was the incident between the Absolute Motorsport Aslith driver of Krakowski on Niels Klinkmuller, who was out wide, tried to rejoin. Klinkmuller turning the rear end of the Absolute Motorsport Aslith car. A bit awkward there. But no, it was in GT3s, wasn't it? Or GT3s.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
but I would have thought that would have...
very different kettle of fish.
I would have thought that would have been a better fit for Dara, but maybe adjusting to iRacing, it's easier to switch to something that you're less familiar with. That, by the way, shows a lot. The rear angle from Nekamata just squeezed down into that braking zone, maybe caught out by the car slowing down in front, misjudging the brake marker slightly, and the contact shoveling them into the gravel.
I mean, I will say, all the drivers coming in. This is why I like what we do here in VCO when we're going onto these platforms. We're not taking necessarily the typical esports car on a given platform, you know, which normally is GT3 style of racing, right? Where you look at Alessandro Bico, who's got so much experience in like the GTDs, Will Chadwick, you know, when it comes to those GT3 racing, they're so experienced in those platforms. And when you look at IMSA Esports, you're racing against a field of drivers that are so well experienced, the sweat lords, as it were, of those given cars. We come here in VCO Esports Racing, we go on these platforms. So when we're racing on RaceRoom in a few weeks, we're racing in the Alpha, the 95 DTM Alpha, right? I can tell you, there are not many people, the esports experts on RaceRoom, that are well versed with taking any of the. They've driven them, but those DTM 95s, Group A, Super Tourers, whatever, they're not well versed with throwing those classic cars around. So you got to use them in competitions like this, level the playing field.
4 minutes to go. Just looking down the list, we are starting to see some separation through the field. That means some drivers and teams start to push the issue. Now, I think you and I will both agree, Williams F1 Team Gaming, TC and EMM. Alongside of Visceral, those four teams currently pretty comfortable. Team Nitro, Mitchie Tauscher, his teammate and only surviving teammate as well, as Leon burnt down in 23rd position. That's not a great situation to be in. Thibaut Casabon, his highest placed teammate is Marcel Chinchik. Yuri Toman is behind Chinchik, but that 6th and 18th position, they are on the edge right now, I would say, Lewis, of being comfortable in these final couple of laps.
But then on a massive field like this, I don't know who's actually comfortable. I mean, look, even up here, Williams running 1st and 9th, you'd say they're relatively comfortable. But then Mitchie Tauscher, he goes for one silly thing on the final couple of laps, and suddenly Alessandro Bico's in a gravel trap looking backwards, and Williams looking at a slightly less comfortable situation, still progressing, but not as comfortable as they were. You just never know how things are going to unfold, and around this circuit, I mean, it can dish you up a pretty relatively uncomfortable snack at any moment. It's a brutal track, it's a brutal cars, and it is a brutal competition with brutal field. It's a tough one for these drivers to get through. They're doing brilliantly, but that's why we've got some of the top level drivers in esports doing battle once again here in the Esports Racing League. 5 cars breaking away slightly from Thibaut Casabon. Marcel Chinchik and Yuri Toman down in 18th and 19th. Not quite the same as their heat races, Argino.
No, but I will say this is a bit more familiar to what we saw in heat number 1, where Alessandro Bico, a bit closer from Mitchie Tauscher to what the gap was in heat 1, but really not much happening, and have to wait to see in semi-final and final action if there is going to be a bit more. And if this has just been, once again, reality of the teams being placed as they are, it's really helpful when you've got a teammate directly behind you or in front of you, because you've got, especially around a track like Road Atlanta, you've got a bit more security to do different things in your racing line, knowing that there's only a couple of places where you're vulnerable to sends, and your teammate can cover you off. So now that Williams also have 2 drivers in alignment, they force Isaac Price off the road. You go back to your point on not being comfortable. Christoph Kourakis, glad he's up in 3rd, but Isaac Price has lost a couple of points there.
Good job. Yoni Katia is the one directly behind, because as soon as Isaac Price was forced off the road, I do think that Yoni Katia was kind of backing out of it a little bit to allow Isaac Price the room to come straight back on ahead without any major dramas. 3rd and 12th, still comfortable points enough to be one of those transferring teams. They'll have another lap to progress. We're on the penultimate lap. We've completed the pre-ante-penultimate. We're in the ante-penultimate race. We've completed the ante-penultimate lap. Penultimate. You know what I'm saying?
Will Chadwick's on board. I'm just going to ignore that. It's almost as bad as the 6-7, but not quite as bad.
That was pretty egregious.
That was pretty bad, wasn't it? Will Chadwick, I mean, you talked about the steering wheel detail slightly earlier. The only thing I can think of, the reason why it's got this cutout, is we must be sitting quite high, actually, for where the driver's eye line would be, because you're seeing quite a bit of the roll cage as well, I would argue. So expect the driver to be a bit lower in the car. Maybe they struggle to see the dash, but again, I'm agreeing with you, Lewis. Just put the proper round wheel on it. Will Chadwick's all on the wheel as he cuts underneath of Kourakis. Now, these are not moves that need to be made. It's risking penalty points as well. Through goes Chadwick. Can McCormack slip through too?
Yeah, I mean, risking penalty points, that's basically William risking penalty points Chadwick. That's his middle name. Loves the stuff. I remember commentating him in the... he's actually, if he hears that, he's absolutely going to send me a horrible message. I remember commentating on him in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. There was a bit of a meme where it's like, oh, Will Chadwick's crossed the line to win. Oh, it's been taken away. Oh, he's on the plate. Oh, it's been taken away. It's fine. Look, he knows how to race. He knows how to get his elbows out, and certainly has tried it there on Christoph Kourakis. Will Chadwick up in the 3rd position. It was a great move. Certainly Race Control's not going to get involved in that one. And they're not going to get involved up here. Williams Esports, one of our favourites to move through all the way into the final and maybe go the distance and take the victory here this evening in the hands of Alessandro Bico. Well, he didn't qualify up in the front, but in one fantastic start was able to sweep his way through into it. Bico will work his way through the final corner, down the hill, through 12, across the line to win for the 2nd time tonight. Tauscher with a fantastic drive onto the podium, and a last lap move from Chadwick seals that final step ahead of Kourakis and Darren McCormack. Williams moving through, EMM moving through, Visceral through, TC through, Vitality, believe they're just about through. Question marks for the others.
Wait and see for official word. Not much, I think, that Race Control is looking at. One thing I will say, though, is as much as Bico is now 2 for 2 in race victories, by no means are we going to sit here and tell you that he is a dominant driver tonight. He is being held accountable by the field. And I think the word that you and I had pre-race to put Williams F1 Team Gaming as our favorites, Lewis, throw that out the window. Everyone else has been competitive too.
It's very unclear as to where tonight is going to go. But for Williams, it is another victory. For Mitchy Tauscher, for Team Nitro, it is a great drive to second in an evening where they must perform. Nitro need to have a great night, and we'll see if they're still able to progress based on where their teammates are. For Tauscher, it's Chadwick, it's Kourakis, it's McCormack, EMM Bistro and EMM alike. Vitality's Kazamon will be in 6th with TC Esports, Fenalosa and David Sobrero in 7th and 8th. Don Blyer and Kunzner move into the back end of the top 10 for Williams. Thomas Laboutelet in 11th. Isaac Price in 12th position, just ahead of his teammate Yoni Katia, with Bruno Kalef in 14th. Arriagada in 15th for TC Esports. Felix Abe Sentiment a couple of positions behind his teammate Gabor Giet, and Marcel Chinchik. Yuri Toman in 19th. I do believe that should be enough for Vitality. We can see some of those positions coming behind with Walsingham in 20th. Then it's Roy, Talvar, Porter, Bent, Frisia, and then of course Caserta, Naylor, Schoeniger, Azar and Elgin, all across the line within basically 20 seconds of our race leader. We can see our final few positions of Loverink, Lagukas and Nekamata. A lap down was Krakowski and Klinkmuller in 35th position. Arjuna caught up with Alessandro Bico a little bit earlier on. It's now my time to have a little bit of a chat. Great drive to a victory in Heat 1 for you, Alessandro. And another great drive for you to win here, just about ahead of Mitchie Tauscher. Crazy race though. Williams, your teammates were a little bit further behind. Look, that seemed like it was a little bit of a stressful run there. There was a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
Oh yes, 100%. I think starting from quali because I missed a couple of corners very bad. So yeah, already there I was with a bit of pressure, but the start was very great, and then honestly I just managed to don't do mistake and do my pace. But yeah, 100% was much more pressure here.
We've seen a couple of poor starts from Carlos Fenelosa, so a couple of drivers maybe struggling to get this car off of the line. Without revealing any secrets, don't worry. How hard is this car to actually get going? Obviously, all that power goes into the front wheels. Quite easy to spin them up, quite easy, I guess, to bog down as well.
Oh yes, 100%. It's not only on the start. I think the start is the most difficult with this car, but then also on the exit of the corner during the race you have to manage, because at the first few laps you have a lot of grip, but then it's going down and the front tire is slipping and it's completely over.
Obviously, when we move into the semi-finals, it will be half the grid size. Obviously, only 6 teams moving their way through. So we'll see 18 cars out on the circuit. Do you think that will change much necessarily for you, or do you kind of expect to see the same sort of drivers up and around the front?
Yeah, more or less it's gonna be the same, I think. Everything is, the quality is changing a lot because with one shot, this track is also very strict with the off track and everything. So quality will be very important, but more or less, I see who is very good.
Alessandro, 2 races, 2 great drives, 2 victories across the line tonight. We'll probably be chatting to you a little bit more later tonight. Best of luck.
Thank you.
It was a good drive, Arjuna, wasn't it? Another brilliant victory from Alessandro Bico. And what was a pretty tense race, gotta say, shout out in that race, Mitchie Tauscher. Where's your speed on iRacing come from, boy?
He is 7.5 KI rating, so again, he's got plenty of experience, but it goes back to what we were saying earlier, where picking the less common cars kind of reduces the skill discrepancy between experts and non-experts on particular platforms. I will say, Race Control not too busy after the quarterfinals. Hopefully, we'll be ready for the semi-finals sooner rather than later.
Well, whilst we go into that, let's have a little look at highlights from a very exciting quarterfinal. Highlights from quarterfinal, Carlos Fenelosa once again will be starting from pole position, but bogging down for yet another race. Alessandro Bico was sweeping his way through from 4th up into the race lead, just ahead of Mitchie Tauscher. They would get back into single file from about 10th on back. There was still plenty of fights going through the SS section, as some of those trying to make that early progress. Reina Talvar, one of those drivers trying to force his way up the order after failing to put a lap onto the books in qualifying. He had to start from basically the rear of the field and move up the order. There was this incident, unfortunately, for Krakowski and Niels Klinkmuller that would send them down the order. Ruby Nekamata as well having a moment around the likes of one of the EMM and BS competition car of Reina Talvar. Front of the field, though, it was once again a brilliant drive from Alessandro Bico. Mitchie Tauscher was getting close. Will Chadwick as well starting to knock at the door. It would be Bico across the line for Williams to progress through into the semi-final. And these will be the, I'm still thinking a little bit provisional of those little looks for some of those further down. EMM will be our top team with a brilliant drive to 3rd and 5th, Chadwick and McCormack. Williams Esports did receive 2 penalty points, but for Alessandro Bico, Dominic Blyer and Matteo Coinza, they will be 2nd position, all that. TC Esports, Visceral, Vitality and Team Nitro will move through. The big talking point from this, Arjuna, BS competition, 8th position. That will be bitterly disappointing for our Heat 2 winners, only to be finishing in 8th in this and being out of the rest of the competition.
I guess that's what happens when you align your lineup like this across the 4 platforms. When your other 2 drivers, Marco Pajic, Jack Balding, you couldn't argue that either of them have more iRacing experience than Laboudelet or Walshingham. But only Reina Talvar is what I think you and I would argue and recognize as a consistent iRacing driver. And maybe that inexperience not helping, Reina Talvar's lack of qualifying, definitely hurting in the quarterfinals. And that's something for us to keep in mind, Lewis, even in the semi-finals where 3 teams will move forward, but with the pace being as close as it is amongst the top teams, margins are going to be crucial.
Yeah, when you're dealing with a car like this around a circuit like this, the laps are quite short, you know, sub 90 seconds. You kind of don't really have too much to play with when it comes to those mistakes. And when it comes to this track, you've mentioned it before, there's a few circuits where you can abuse track limits, a few corners rather where you can abuse limits, and a few where if you do so, you'll receive a slowdown, you'll receive your lap to be invalidated. Turn 3 and 10A and 10B are the 2 to really look for on that one. 3 at the top of the hill, so easy to turn in that little bit too early. That's why a lot of drivers, especially these days in iRacing, they actually drive from, as we were seeing from our onboard camera, quite a high driving position. A lot of drivers will do that anyway. Gives you a little bit better visibility as to where the corners of the car are. And then 10A and 10B, the amount of times where I'm like, I'm on an absolute blinder of a lap. By blinder of a lap, I mean I'm like 2 seconds off the pace for most of the time. And you'll get down into that chicane at the end, and you think, well, I've had a great lap. I kind of have to throw it over here to try and do so. And the curbs are so inviting, Arjuna. They're so inviting. And then you know that if you don't, you're not grabbing pole, so you might as well throw it over them. And before you know it, popped up at the top of your screen, off track, 1x, laps in the bin.
We were having a discussion amongst my teammates a couple of days ago about when I used to drive in iRacing, what was my best track? And it came down to either this Road Atlanta or the Nordschleife. And you know what makes Road Atlanta so good is you can throw an Indy car around here and it just works. Genuinely, it just works. Maybe not so much now with the hybrid and all the extra weight that they've added up to raise the center of gravity effectively, but I don't know, it's just such a rewarding track to drive. It's not, I would say, intimidating in a way that Watkins Glen can be, because you've got walls a lot tighter to you and the speeds there are pretty high too. But then the elevation, you don't really, I think, ever get that sense on the sim, but it is a drop. That final corner, it is a proper drop. And once you get into the S's, we're watching one of the EMM drivers, Darren McCormack, working his way through here. You'll get to the bottom and you'll stare up to where turn 5 is, and you will stand in awe as to how much of a climb it is. You drop down all the way, your stomach rising up, then it hits the bottom of your body and you compress at that curb and begin the climb up. And even here out of turn 5, that curb on the outside is basically at a 5 to 7 degree angle, I would say. It's a pretty significant rise that you still have on that curb. This is a track where if you understand all the elevation nuance, you can become even faster around the track.
Yeah, I mean, fair shout. But whilst you were chatting about that, sorry, I was having a look. You know, next time we go and have a look at Will Chadwick, look at the background. Obviously, you see all the track. I wonder how many of those you can name, Arjuna. I wonder how.
Producer.
How many have we got?
No, we need it bigger.
It's quite hard to see. To be fair, though, I reckon, yeah, bingo, got that one. Yep. I don't know. Oh, yeah, okay. Hey, off you go.
You know, he's got a pretty good...
He's got a good selection.
He's got a global representation as well. That's what makes this so cool.
What's the furthest left? That's a tough one for you.
Oh, well, I didn't want to see that out of Will's face.
We're not here for you, Will. No, get the microphone out of the way. Get the microphone out of the way, man.
Oh, well, I will say...
we've got to pay more to see Snetterton again. All right, that's fine. Got to get the subscription going.
I genuinely had this thought last night, and that's why my mind is currently scrambling. GeoGuessr for racetracks.
Oh yeah, no, it's on there.
You and I have talked about this before.
Yeah, I've played it. It's on GeoGuessr, mate.
No, but I'm talking the nerdy levels that you and I go to.
Yeah.
Right, where GeoGuessr, I'm guessing you still get the 3D thing, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can do like the above one. You can do track where you can like zoom it. I will tell you this, Arjuna. I've played this game with Cameron Roger a few times before.
Oh, he's good too.
Never play, because on GeoGuessr you have to like zoom in on the track as well and like find it on the map. Mm-hmm. And if you give yourself like a 30-second timer, like you can normally go, yeah, that one right in the middle of the screen, that's Barcelona. Bingo, got that one. Now go and find it. And in Barcelona, Barcelona's pretty big. Now I know that it is on it's like the northwest of Barcelona. Bingo. Right, top left, that is the Nürburgring. Then it's Barcelona, right top middle. Then it's Mid-Ohio on the middle right. What have we got over on the right hand top right? What's that? What is that top right?
Is it
bottom, going down one.
Phillip Island is the obvious
Sonoma.
one.
Phillip Island is the one directly below that.
Yeah.
You've got Interlagos. You've got Alton Park. I'm over there at the weekend. Anyone's at Alton Park, give me a shout. Let me know. I'll probably ignore you. It's fine. Get out of the way!
We're going to fire him from Race Spot for this, by the way.
What's the one below Zandvoort? What is that? Why do I know it?
Honestly, I haven't even looked at that one because the top right has got my interest right now.
Yeah, what is the top right? Is it a street circuit?
It's got to be. In which case, is Adelaide a good shout?
No, it's not Adelaide.
No, because turn 1, there's no turn. Yeah, there's no chicane. Will, we're going to fire you from Race Spot. You are never going to be allowed back in the commentary booth.
Will, give us the answers. Give us the source. What is it?
What we're doing right now is waiting for everyone to join. By the way, we can confirm which of the 6 teams will advance, and it was the 6 teams we mentioned before. A slight change in the ordering, but no change in which names. So EMM, Williams F1 Team Gaming, TC, Visceral, Team Nitro, and Vitality beginning to drift their way around Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, apparently.
Yeah, sorry, I'm searching for all of our broadcasts, see if anyone's dropped in the chats what any of those circuits were.
No, I'm looking.
It's going to bother me like crazy. What? Because it's like, the thing is, I'm looking at it and being like, I know them. I know them. Do you know what? Do you know how you solve this problem? Take a photograph of them, send them to our
Cam Roger.
local track expert, Cameron Roger. Give me a couple of minutes and we'll be gathering an answer.
Well, the good news is that we don't have to do that because our race control team only had a couple of things to pick their way through. Shout out to them, by the way, for being here with us on another ERL evening and keeping us and the drivers on the straight and narrow. Have you just figured it out?
Yeah, I have figured it out. It was a street circuit. It's Belle Isle.
Oh, you know why I didn't think about Belle Isle?
Why did you not think about Belle Isle?
Because they don't race around Belle Isle anymore.
Yeah,
and they race around a horrible Detroit instead. Sorry, I shouldn't say that out loud.
It's not great. It's not great. Belle Isle was a crack. As soon as I was looking at it, I was like, I know it. No, got it. I still don't know what the other one is.
Adelaide wasn't a bad shout. I'm just saying. Similar-ish.
Yeah.
Ish.
I'd say the second one's got me stumped. But look, I think we got most of them. And I think this... Junior, I'm going to say it now. I think that we should do a VCO quiz at the end of the year.
Oh, that's what I was saying with the GeoGuessr thingy.
Yeah,
like, legitimately, last night I had an idea for a game show.
Yeah,
around.
VCO game
like, I didn't
show.
dream about it, fortunately, but you know, there's weirder things that I've dreamed about.
Sorry, what was that?
Just leave that in the air.
Is there a semi-final coming up? Let's change the topic back on to what's relevant. Anyway, into qualifying for the semi-final 6 teams.
This is what you get when you. This is what happens when you leave Lewis and myself to fill a bunch of time, and there wasn't much to talk about.
I've got a sweaty brow now. That's mental.
I am so glad about slipping that one in there because the number of things I avoided saying during the Nürburgring 24 that could have got me in trouble with Max Verstappen fans. I had to bite my tongue so much.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's fair.
My corner and all of that fun stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a few things. I've seen some drivers around. There's a few things that I love to chuck on the broadcast, but those are for me to know and for no one watching to ever find out. But we do like to poke the bear sometimes as commentators, don't we?
Just a little bit. We're not asking for shirts anymore, at the very least, with qualifying rolling through.
That said, I would take a Verstappen.com shirt. I've seen them popping around. They said that fans can buy them. Obviously, you and I will sit there and be like, buying them, but you can give them to me for free, and I'll talk about that having one, and then you can get free advertising from it. But I want them. Still don't have a BS competition shirt. I know you've paid for a couple. Flozzer?
I do have.
What's the deal?
do have that scarf like you do.
I do have the scarf.
Where's our Thibaut Courtois goalkeeper gloves?
I've got a BS competition stress ball. That's fun. I've got Roman Gross. It's not going to get RHG and all that, but I've got Roman Gross on signed gloves downstairs and a little die-cast of the LMP2.
Oh, so clearly what we just need is yellow shirts, and we'll put some Vitality stickers on them, and it'll look just as good as the car does. Anyway, let's focus back on qualifying, because this could be crucial. 3 minutes, 1 lap. That is it. The drivers do not get another attempt, and already we have seen, in the case of BS Plus competition, one driver finding themselves in struggle can put the entire team in stride. David Sobrero climbs up into turn 3. This is one of those crucial points for track limits. He's going to drop into the S's nice and aggressively.
Sobrero pushing hard and disappearing from existence. Is that a disconnection from Sobrero, considering that his camera's lagged out as well? I think it might be, and he had issues earlier on in the night. I think he's going to have issues in this one. Disaster for TC Esports if that is the case. Arriagada will have to step up for the team. Carlos Fenalosa, we're expecting contend here. 4 pole position as he's had 2 this evening so far from the 2 races he's done.
He's back on track at the very least, so let's see if iRacing flags that as a lap with significant discontinuity. Fenalosa's been quick in qualifying, but just has not put the starts together. Cannot afford to make that mistake, but that's in the future. In the here and now, it's do the job in qualifying. Williams F1 Team Gaming, 1:26.096 from Alessandro Bico. You heard it from Lewis as well. One of the quickest laps we've seen today, and Fenalosa can't match it. Outside of the front row for the black and gold of Fenalosa. What can Will Chadwick do? Just 4 times yet to be put on the board. Visceral in a great spot right now.
That is an unbelievable lap from the 2-time race winner this evening. Chadwick through the final corner, drops down the hill again, into the last turn, over the right-hander. Where's he going to go onto the field? 26.239 up to 4th. Just behind his teammate Darren McCormack. Solid qualifying session for EMM. Thibaut Casimon now. Marcel Chinchik sits in 7th. Now his teammate deposes him and goes up into 7th himself. It is not looking clear as to which teams are moving through at the moment, but EMM and Visceral would be good for it. Williams with 1st and 11th would just be in, but literally just by the skin of their teeth, only by beating TC Esports on exactly the same points. It is not comfortable for anyone, and we've got a 12-lap race to decide it all. Going to be incredible.
Is this the closest the ERL has been all season?
It's certainly the most open that we've had this season, because going into towards final, in the semi-finals, obviously on LFS, we kind of had our ideas as to who was going where, right? And Visceral were the team to beat quite early on in that, right? And obviously last time out on Gran Turismo, it was really all about Vitality. This so far, I genuinely could not tell you which team I'm actually looking at as being the prime candidate to win, which is a great problem to have, right? Because of all 6 of the teams we've got in here, I could see all 6 of them getting through into the final. And which ones would actually contend for the race? I just don't know. I think Bico's potentially the best driver in the race. Carlos Fenalosa might be the faster. That lap from Bico might put that one to an end. But I don't know, Arjuna.
Well, the Porsche Esports Super Cup winner, Alessandro Bico, will once again be up front. Can Carlos Fenalosa make it 3rd times the charm on dropping the clutch and rolling off of the front row? EMM, Darren McCormack out-qualifies Will Chadwick with Isaac Price and Christoph Kourakis 5th and 6th positions. Great opportunity for Visceral to continue what's been a great season for them, starting on Live for Speed. Can Vitality continue the form after their victory on Gran Turismo 7th and 8th for Casabon and Chinchik? Yoni Katia, 9th for the 3rd of the Visceral cars before Nicholas Arriagada for TC Esports completes the top 10. The 2 Williams machines, Matteo Quenzer and Dominic Blyer, have work to do to catch up their teammate at the front, Mitchie Tauscher, alongside of Yuri Toman, and then Tauscher's teammates Clint Muller and Burton, 15th and 16th spots, and then just Dennis Schoniger and David Sobrero at the tail end. 18-car semi-final grid. 12 minutes, 9 laps, and Lewis, I think both of us agree, any which way this race can go.
Between this, we're only going to see 3 teams move through into the final. I think let's throw it in the bin. Let's just put all 6 teams in the final. That's fine.
Let's make this the final.
Let's make this final, boys. Honestly, I'm actually really excited for this. It is a good car track combo. We've seen that so far. We were maybe a little bit concerned with Heat 1, but it has delivered time and time again. The question marks, though, will go to the right-hand side of that front row. To Carlos Fenelota, who's not starting for pole position for the first time this evening, who has had 2... Sorry to put the pressure on shoulders. I feel like I'm putting loads of weight on him. Has had 2 bad starts. Cannot afford that. That needs to stop right here, right now. Alessandro Bico certainly the favourite for this victory. I'm sure he might build a bit of a gap towards T1. Fenelota must go with him.
It's not quite do or die. There's some solid points even if you're eliminated in the semi-finals, but for some teams it'll be full focus with 2 rounds left, including this in the regular season of the Esports Racing League. Final 4 tickets not far away from being handed out. Lights will build, engines will rev, and 12 minutes of semi-final action beckons from the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta.
Green.
Alessandro Bico gets away well. Carlos Fenelota gets away decently. It's Dara McCormack that's left stranded on the line, bogged down, and now finally going through the gears. Christoph Caracas challenges to the inside of Will Chadwick, but also trying to defend from those bright yellow Vitality machines as we swing up the hill for the first time. Out wide for Marcel Cinchik. Yoni Kati has picked his pocket and now dropped down out of turn 3. Lots of chopping and changing on this start. Black flag for Niels Klinkmuller for a jump start, but a tidy run for 17 others.
Disaster for Dara. Down the field he goes into 10th position. Darren McCormack, and now just behind, or just ahead rather, of his old teammate Dom Plyer, racing around the team he used to be a part of a couple of years ago. He'll need to fight his way through on the Williams. The clarity as to who's moving through into the final is very up in the air, but at the moment it would be Visceral, Vitality and Williams as things run. This will chop and change an awful lot. Dom Plyer's dropping down the order. Mitchie Tausch is into the barrier as well. Unfortunately, the journey will come to a close here, at least tonight, for Team Nitro. 16th, 17th, 18th for them.
Well, they knew that the season was already unraveling. They're just trying to end on a high. RaceRoom left for them. Leon Burt's not quite done. Let's see if he can pop his way past Don Plyer, who, remember, has now got to try and work forward and maybe close on Matteo Kenzer. Kenzer in his own fight with Dara McCormack slightly further up the running order. And as lap 1 comes to an end, remember, 3 teams to move forward, and the math has been thrown all across the board. Williams F1 Team Gaming might now be in the great position of transferring forward alongside of Vitality and EMM, if my math serves correct, but that's a very close margin actually with TC Esports as well. 10 minutes to go, it can go any which way.
As much as it is a little bit up in the air at this point, it does seem as though there is not a clear picture at all, but at the moment it would be, your Williams, your Vitality and your Visceral at present. I suspect Visceral and Vitality may not fight too hard here. The more they fight, the more Williams will close to this. Darren McCormack will close up with them, and he could force the issue for EMM, which I suspect he may well do anyway. Speaking of forcing the issue, it may not be do or die for many teams on this field, but for Will Chadwick, this could be the time to go for the overtake. He needs to make the progress. He needs to steal away the victory. He needs to channel those drives that he did to progress his way through to the top step of the Porsche Esports Great Britain Championship not too long ago. He needs to get his way through onto the top step. He needs to get past Bico.
If he does that, he will push Williams F1 Team Gaming down the order as well. If my math holds correct, Williams, Vitality, Visceral all tied on 11. Williams F1 Team Gaming with the tiebreaker. Best position on track. And then 13 points, so just 2 back for EMM and for TC Esports. So much can still change. Fenelosa's got to be thinking about his move for the lead as well. Lean from Will Chadwick. His head was almost at 45 degrees as they worked through the corner.
Look, I think, if you're leaning into it, you're obviously putting you're moving the weight around of the car, right? That's how it works. Maybe he does it when he goes real world racing. By the way, big congrats to Will Chadwick winning on ITV4 live coverage for British Touring Car Championship, and obviously he was racing in the caterings and took the top step. I wasn't in tears or anything. I didn't really care. But no, it was good to see. Nice to see him getting interviewed and stuff and having some good chats. Obviously, it was really, really great to see him. I'm sure his head moves around the car just like that. Maybe I don't know. We all do weird things behind the wheel. Sebby Job does that weird thing with his tongue and his lips, where he's constantly like he's sucking in air or something when he's going through corners and in braking zone. So clearly, Chadders is leaning as if he's Marc Marquez on the way to another MotoGP crown.
David Sobrero fighting with former teammate Dominic Blyer. Not quite MotoGP action here. These drivers running each other just enough room as they exit off the corner. Squeeze to the inside from Leon Burnt. He's not got much to worry about right now. David Sobrero's got to be aware of that as he gets pushed off the track. Wheel to wheel back down to turn 1, 7 minutes to go, fighting to effectively not be the last in the leading train. And David Sobrero is going to give a good shove up as they climb the hill, but Leon Burnt's up to 15th spot.
Yeah, for TC Esports, there is still, I guess, a chance for them to move through. Second for Carlos Fenolosa at the moment, although that run through T5 would see him looking backwards rather than forwards. Alessandro Bico with the lead. There comes a look to the inside for Chadwick. It's not going to work into 6. He'll go out a little bit wide here on the exit of 6. Got to be careful of that grass there on the left-hand side where the curb rises up. If you get that rear tyre where it's part-way on the grass and then get on the brakes, it can really snap the rear end of the car around. You must be careful with that. And the car kind of slides a little bit through the exit of 6, and that rear end does tend to stick out a little bit more, so you can't be thinking about where your front wheels are. You've got to be thinking about where your back ones are going into that braking zone of turn 7. These drivers are all well good enough to not have that explained to them. They know what they're doing, but just a point to keep an eye on over the next 6 minutes and 16 seconds of this semi-final, and of course the final that will follow afterwards.
Let's take a look at some of the action out of turn 7. So Dom Blyer is already almost perpendicular to the track, I think, and then that's what sends him into the side of G. Tauscher. And then bang, rear end into the wall, rips the actual wing off, but there's plenty of suspension that will have gotten shaken up and damaged in that contact as well. As much as you don't use the rear tires, the suspension is what helps keep the aero balance of the car, and any impact there is going to be quite significant. Bico continuing though to run, I don't want to say unpressured, but unperturbed up at the front. Lewis continuing just to run his own tempo, hit his marks, not really be looking over his shoulder.
Whoa, the perturbing's really coming in from behind, where Chadwick way out wide at 6 there. That's certainly going to impact his braking into 7. But because of the slipstream that Fenolosa is getting from Bico, Chadwick can't make that move coming down into 10-8 and B. The snake will move one way, then the other. Thibaut Casmon even finding it with Christoph Karakus and Yoni Kadler behind those, 4th, 5th and 6th. Karakus, I'm going to say it, I don't care. Karakus' power certainly holding up for now, and Visceral in a position to move through into their second final of the 2026 season of the Esports Racing League down the hill. Bico leading 4 minutes, 40 seconds left to go. Still, 4 laps left from this point for them running the times they're running.
We've got
still loads of opportunities.
We've got our first race control penalty from the semi-final. It's a penalty point for Kenzer. So that now puts Williams F1 Team Gaming down to 3rd in the running to make it through to the final. If Kenzer Blyer, they lose a spot, suddenly it's TC Esports that finds themselves in position. So Fenolosa has that spot in front of him right now. 4 minutes left to go to try and figure out how to make his way to the lead of this race.
But then if Chadders gets his way through, suddenly things are open and leaning more towards EMN. This is about as open as it's been, and there is no clear pathway for anyone. It's all tremendously difficult at present, and things are very much up in the air. Where is that move coming? Carlos Fenelos's got to do it. The big flashing lights coming in from Will Chadwick. Sits less than 2/10 behind Carlos Fenelosa and is closing in. Chadwick is not afraid of a cheeky dive. He looks to the inside, can't do it. Wiggles back over to the curb, bumps the rear end of the Hyundai Elantra ahead of him as they go through 10A and 10B. Out wide though, going through 11, now dropping down the hill, losing some costly time.
And to be clear, if Chadwick passes Fenelosa, that's also enough for EMM to jump in front of the Williams F1 Team Gaming. This front three, there's some peril if there's some moves. And Chadwick with the most impetus, what the body language of the car. Aggressive down to turn 10 on that previous occasion. And as much as he's leaning into the corners, as we watch his lack of facial expression so locked in on the task at hand right now, he's hitting the apexes almost perfectly. A bit of a slide then from turn 5 for Fenelosa. It's not going to quite open the door. What will open the door is a penalty point that's gone to David Sobrero and to TC Esports. Will Chadwick has to make the move now. Slide through at turn 7. He's going to box out Fenelosa, and EMM find themselves in the transfer spots.
Brilliant move there from Chadwick. Fenelosa's going to come back strong here on the run down into 10A and 10B. There's not much slipstream coming from Alessandro Bico as the gap grows to over a second. Fenelosa going on the attack back over to the right-hand side. They crest the hill at 9, drop down into 10A and 10B. Fenelosa with the outside run. He's going to go full send here. Bit of a door check between the pair of them. Another one between the pair of them. Chadwick on the inside. Full send. Just about carving over. And that contact was going to happen every single day of the week. Off the road. Slamming the throttle pedal down and losing a whole heap of positions. EMM surely are not progressing through now.
Well, I can tell what Will Chadwick wants to say based on that facial reaction. Not much of it would be broadcastable, unfortunately. Behind him, his teammate Dara McCormack still fights with Matteo Kenzer. Now, my gut from that first look is that Carlos Fenelosa is likely to be deemed as responsible for the contact, as McCormack now gets shoved out to the motorcycle part of the turn 3 loop at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Does that now mean that Williams F1 Team Gaming are suddenly once again back inside those front 3 transfer spots?
Yeah, I think so. Like I say, I think Fenelosa is probably going to get a bit of a ding for that one. I think it will be Williams, Vitality and Visceral again. 1 minute left to go in this race. We're on the penultimate lap. We've got one more run around the Road Atlanta Speedway for Raceway, isn't it? Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Why have you got a sticker sponsor in it? Christ. Either way, they've got one more lap to deal with it in this semi-final, and I don't know who's winning this final. Gina, it's mental.
Isaac Price has got to be careful here. Last thing he wants to do is pick up some of those penalty points. I do feel like we're going to have a couple of minutes after this to wait for race control to take a look at a couple of different bits. Last lap of this semi-final, and then just 12 more minutes of action to come here in the Esports Racing League on iRacing, penultimate round of the regular season. Isaac Price holds the tighter line. He's aware of Matteo Kenzer as well behind, playing defense while also going on offense. It's been a great night so far, though. Still amazed that 3 of these teams aren't going to see the final.
It's brutal, isn't it? Absolutely brutal that when you're looking at the 6 teams here, you'd have to say 6 that, like, you could see them all contending in the final. You know, Mitchie Tausch has shown some incredible speed for Team Nitro. Williams have been great. EMM have been great. Vitality are right up there. Visceral, right up there. Like, all 6 of these teams have a rightful claim to being one of the 3 in the final. It's been as open as it gets, but unfortunately, as things start to tick off, a bit of a clear image is showing with Williams, Vitality and Visceral a part of the trio to take battle into the fight for the top step here in the VCO Esports Racing League.
We'll wait to see what's final, because chopping and changing to the line, race control will have its say. But up front, 3 and 3 for Alessandro Bico. The pace is there for Williams F1 Team Gaming. Is the spot in the final? Only time will tell. Carlos Fenelosa crosses the line with the same question on his mind. But as Visceral and Vitality come to the line, their spots in the final less questioned as the semi-final comes to an end.
Brilliant stuff there. Brilliant race. Very exciting. Feel bad for Race Control, who are going to have an awful lot to deal with. EMM, a lot of questions that they'll be throwing to Race Control, but unfortunately, regardless of what penalties get thrown round, I don't think that there's going to be any hope for them unless Williams have thrown a few absolute whoppers, which I'm not necessarily sure is going to happen. Their issues will come after that incident with Fenalosa and Will Chadwick. And of course, even the race starts for Darren McCormack.
But all as Alessandro Bico once again drove away into the biggest margin of victory he's seen today. Carlos Fenalosa for TC Esports might not be enough, but for Vitality, 3rd and 6th, for Visceral, 4th and 5th, their spots in the finals, Race Control permitting, should be safe. Will Chadwick will be slightly frustrated in front of Isaac Price, Matteo Kenzer, and Dara McCormack, while rounding out the field, Arriagada, Schoniger, Toman, Blyer, Burnt, Klinkmuller, Sobrero, and then Mitchie Tauscher rear end into the wall hard out of turn 7. Does not see the end. Let's catch up though with Alessandro Bico, 3rd time tonight. It's never boring talking about a victory, Alessandro, but that was maybe the biggest margin you've seen tonight. How are you getting more comfortable with this car? How's the speed going?
Yes. Well, it's nice to see you again. No, the quali was, I think, one of my best lap. I have to say, I put everything together, so I'm very happy. The race, I knew it was gonna be even more tight than before, but I saw that the top 3 was like a little gap, so that was good for me. And then I said I need to push, especially the last few laps, because I know 100% they want to overtaken me, so I think the lap they crash, I took good advantage on them, so I think that helped a lot, and yeah, very happy.
A little bit more chaos behind. Have you heard anything from your teammates as to how their races went, how much action they were seeing?
Oh yes, 100%. I also saw the crash from my mirror, so yeah, I saw a lot of fight.
Well, Alessandro, hoping that we'll see you in the finals, just waiting for Race Control to make their final decisions, but congratulations, 3 great wins here in the Esports Racing League.
Thank you, guys.
Alessandro Bico, calm, cool, collected, as most sim racers are, to be fair, but yeah, I think that is the question now. What happens with Race Control's review of his teammates and any conduct that maybe are being called into question for them? But up front, I mean, Alessandro has been, I'm going to use the word, dominant so far this weekend. I will now finally say he's been the quickest driver, I think, in the races he's been in.
Look, he has been the quickest race driver. A few times in qualifying, he hasn't quite put it all together, but obviously did in that one. I'm sure he'll be able to do so in the final as well. This is the difficult thing with this format, right? Is that it is a team format. This whole event is a team competition. That's why you have 5 drivers and you use 3 around and you chop and change it throughout the season. Alessandro Bico's aware of that. His teammates are aware of that. And his teammates, it's not like they're sat there being like, well, you know, if I pick up a couple of penalty points, then, you know, it just is what it is. They'll be disappointed themselves, especially when they know that Alessandro Bico's driving at the front brilliantly, is taking the victory, is taking the important points for it, and no one wants to be the reason that your team doesn't progress through when one driver's done everything perfectly. It is heartbreaking. So keep our fingers crossed that Race Control look on them lightly, as I'm sure the protest is... I'm sure we've been filled up when it comes to protests. You can probably inform us a little bit more, Arjuna, on that one.
Yeah, I'm just chatting with Race Control. So it says 3 incidents to review. So not that many, actually. We've seen some races where they've had... they've needed 2 hands to count the number of incidents that were being looked at. So this at least is a promising sign from that. 3 teams in the finals, though. You and I had circled Williams as maybe being our favorites coming into the night, but now I think we can both agree Visceral and Vitality are going to make up 2 of the 3 spots. If Williams isn't that 3rd team, to Dominic Blyer and Matteo Kenzer have enough to help Alessandro Bico help Williams to win this final race?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? It really is a tricky one. I think they do have the speed, but they need to piece together a perfect race. But and then Biko also has to do his bit as well. It's not going to be an easy one for Williams to win, that's for sure.
An action-packed semi-final. Let's take a look at some of the moments from 12 minutes of racing. Semi-final action, Carlos Fenolosa alongside of Alessandro Biko on the front row, but it was Darren McCormack from third that bogged down off the line as 18 Hyundai Elantras fired off to turn one. Not the easiest of launches after what had been such a good day so far, and EMM's chances took a hit. Team Nitro's chances took a hit. Michi Tauscher sliding into the tires on the nose of one of those Williams F1 Team Gaming Hyundais. Meanwhile, Vitality and Visceral in the yellow and red respectively held on to spots inside of the front 7, spots they wouldn't relinquish until the checkered flag, likely seeing their ascent into the finals. This as 3 drivers up front continue to build a small advantage. Alessandro Biko in the race lead, but Will Chadwick tried to make the move on Carlos Fenolosa before contact spat Chadwick into the gravel. Biko held on to the victory. Race Control has got some answers to give. And so provisionally, as Lewis and I had said, Vitality, Visceral, and the Williams F1 Team Gaming are provisionally through, but with a couple of things still under investigation. Still wait to see if there's penalty points, Lewis, to be handed out.
Yeah, like I say, I'm sure Race Control do have a little bit to deal with. And to be fair, the reason this needs to be sorted is it's not only about the 3 teams that moved through into the final. Obviously, for those finishing in 4th, 5th and 6th, we've said before, once you're knocked out, that is effectively when you add your points to the board. It's 24 points for a victory in the final, and then below that it's 1 point less for each position, so 23 and 22 for those that finished in 2nd and 3rd and final, and then for 4th, 5th and 6th here it's 21, 20 and 19. These points are pivotal to work out who will be going through in the top 4 into our grand final in July. And like I say, there's no serious runners away from anything. This format, these point scores, they don't allow anyone to run away where they're going into the final rounds of our online championship on RaceRoom in a few weeks' time, where they're sat there being like, yeah, we're guaranteed top 4. No one's guaranteed anything. If they get knocked out in the in the quarterfinals, the second chance race on RaceRoom, then they're toast.
Some news. I can confirm these results, at least the top 3, are now official. And so Vitality, Visceral, and Williams F1 Team Gaming. For Vitality, this is 2 consecutive finals that they've made. For Visceral, this is the second final they've made after winning, of course, on Lift for Speed. So there's a chance for both of those teams to win their second event of the season. Williams F1 Team Gaming have come close to the finals in both of the last 2 events. They're finally going to get their chance at coming out on top.
Yeah, been 4th twice this season. Williams F1 Team Gaming been super consistent this season, and going into it. So let's talk final now. Now we've got our teams. Who's the favourite? I would say Visceral have the strongest trio of drivers. Williams have the fastest driver. Pick that apart as you wish.
I'm just picking apart all the incidents that we're taking a look at from our semi-final. I guess qualifying again comes in crucial. So putting it together on one lap, avoiding some of the track limit issues that have maybe been a concern for some, Lewis, that might be one of the things that we're talking about. But I also think in a 12-minute race, you can't afford to get caught up in fights, and it's something which often talked about in sim racing is sometimes these drivers don't see the incentive in fighting, and we've had a couple of races where those up front have held off from fighting until the closing stages of the race, if any fight develops at all.
We have had some brilliant fights throughout the day, some not so brilliant fights. Unfortunately here for 92, that was the battle for the final transfer spot for the second chance race. Bit of sendy-wendiness as trying to work their way through. Some great fights, be it in the heat, second chance race, the quarterfinals and the semis. No reason we couldn't have some great fights in the final as well, which will be coming up in a few moments' time. Looking at Raider Talvar there, I think that highlights actually one really important thing here. There's two things to focus on right at the start of this race. Number one, you cannot get an off-track qualifying. I know there's only 9 cars, but you cannot afford to be starting 9th if you've got the pace to start first. Number 2, bingo! these are like lining up exactly my point. Carlos Frenelow's there, poor start. Cannot afford a bad start in this final. You cannot afford to qualify well and then drop down to 9th on the race start, because if you have a bad start, you will be last.
Agree, and again, limited time to make amends for that. Rest of the moments from our day. Will Chadwick trying the move. Carlos Fenelos is still a little bit alongside. Chadwick coming across maybe. Race control deeming that a racing incident. But the stalls have been laid out now. Williams F1 Team Gaming, final moments of practice for them as Visceral and Vitality enter the mix as well. Lewis, are we looking at 3 teams that are heading to our final 4? Are we looking at 3 of the strongest teams in this season?
Look, the fact that all 3 of these teams have been consistent contenders towards the front. This is not like last season, where it's been, they've Commander have contended this round, then they've not contended this round. These 3 teams have been in contention. I mean, Visceral have won and Vitality have won, and Williams have been on the outside of the final by just a single position twice, right? If you're looking for 3 of the best teams in the VCO Esports Racing League right now, you've got to say it's these 3. You know, they're the ones that are up there consistently, which I think is great to see. This will give them a bit of a gap, but it will mean that going on to RaceRoom, whilst things will be comfortable, again, like I said, you have a mistake and you get knocked out early doors, you're in serious trouble. And that can happen to anyone.
And I think with TC and EMM still having had good days, right, they're only losing a point or 2 to these 3 teams. They're only going to be a point or 2 back. So I think it's going to be these 3, TC and EMM, that will be the 5 teams battling it out for the finals spots next time on RaceRoom. Everyone else is going to be there effectively just for bragging rights, so it's going to be good. It's going to lead to the type of excitement that hopefully brings a surprise winner into the mix. Also, a stat that I don't know if we've pointed out at any point tonight. I think this is the first time, and it was at least pointed out in Discord at some point, it's the first time that we've repeated a track in Esports Racing League history, apparently.
Luca did drop that into the chat, into the YouTube chat, absolutely straight away as soon as basically as soon as the broadcast went live. Bam, there it was, straight in there. So, you know, Luca's already added that one, mate.
Well, at least those listening
give me some new details, please.
At least those listening in can be aware of that fact as well. What other fact can I give you? Nah, I got nothing for you.
Do I have any fun facts to throw out? Did you know that that Christmas Day is technically the rarest birthday? Which is actually
no.
There is actually one more rarer than that, but which is obviously February 29th.
Fair. You know what I do know, actually, which I know you know. Did you know that turn 7's tied at the 90 degrees?
I do know it's 90 degrees. I tied at the 90 degrees. I know that because I told you that.
Yes.
I also.
To be fair, it's not like I didn't know that before you told me.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at a track map and be like, oh, that's a bit. Do you know what? If I'm looking at that, it looks tight at the 90 degrees, and boom, you got that information already.
Oh, you asked me for something. There you go.
Yeah, I don't really have many fun facts to just completely throw out. There's certainly none that are really appropriate for this broadcast.
That's the issue.
And certainly not appropriate for a qualifying session for this important part of the season. What are we talking about, Arjuna?
Can you imagine, though, that run down the back straightaway without the chicane? Dominic Blyer hit that so well, though, and it's a couple of tenths off the optimal lap time we've seen. And there goes Alessandro Bico again.
That's incredible. Another 26-0. Simply fantastic. And I don't think that time's being beaten by Chinchek or Kunze, who I don't think has a time on the board. Not sure if Chinchek will be able to, but I'm pretty sure Kunze's already tried. And so for Williams, it could be first and fourth. And then some big struggles for Vitality. That qualifying session certainly not gone to plan.
Yeah, Chinchek is done. Kenzo will get this opportunity, so let's watch the speed. It was a... Lewis, when I'm in awe. It was a 26.096 for Bico last time. So he is 0.02 of a second quicker, but that's the type of consistency that we marvel in when it comes to this level of competition. I think Kenzo's got an opportunity here, even if he doesn't get all the way to the front of the field, front row, even if he slots in front of Christoph Karakis, Williams F1 Team Gaming will be in a great position heading into the start of this 12-minute final. A couple of corners to hook up for the Italian.
And into that last complex. I say I wasn't sure if he tried a lap earlier on in the session. This might be a second attempt. I don't believe so. Obviously, it is a second attempt. It will not count in the session. Let's see what it is up towards the line. 26.0 to beat, 26.261. And there it goes, up onto the front row of the grid. That is a big, big draw for Williams F1 Team Gaming. First and second, they have not won a final this season. They've not been in a final this season. They are in a final now, and they'll be starting from the front row.
And there is a smile. We've seen lots of them, and that is nice to see. He is having fun. He's enjoying himself. And that's usually when you get the best results, when you're relaxed and just able to go out there and perform.
To piece it together again, Bico's done brilliantly. 26.0, second consecutive 26.0, second consecutive pole, looking to become a 4-time race winner this season, and that would put him to number 1 on the stats for the 2026 season. Mate Kunze will start alongside. Yoni Kattler and Isaac Price, another 3-time race winner this season, will start from 4th after Visceral won back on LFS a little while ago. Don Blyer and Christopher Karakis still with the power working. Will start from 6th position. Then it is Vitality. It is Kazmon. It is Toman. It is Chinchik, 7th, 8th, and 9th. They need to have a good race here if they're going to get themselves in contention. But I think them even getting into the final, Arjuna, I think they'll be sat back thinking, do you know what, boys, we'll take the 22 points. Even if we're third in this, it's fine.
No argument from me. I think that is all that they really need. Not quite guaranteeing a spot in the finals by any means, but after a disastrous 2025 ERL season for RHG, now rebranding, same drivers, but another level of consistency which has put them in this spot, and really now they get to sit back and watch what might be a great fight around Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, take off some of the drivers. It's just now 3 teams fighting for the win on iRacing.
Oh, trust me, Vitality are not going to sit back and watch it. They're going to go probably full send, maybe a little bit too much into the opening corner and try and give this one a damn good go. At least try and steal maybe second away. At the moment, the prime opportunity is held by Williams F1 Team Gaming. It'll be a front row lockout for them. Arjuna, very quickly, do you think they can do it? Do you think Visceral can win for the second time this season?
Got about 50 seconds for these drivers to continue sitting and staring. It all comes down to the start. I think if Williams controls the start, they'll be okay, but Isaac Price has been a rocket off the line so far today. He could go from 4th to 1st very realistically. That's not out of the realm of possibility.
The chances of bogging down, the chances of getting some wheel spin, the chances of this start not going right for at least one of these 9 drivers is pretty high. It'll be Vitality, it will be Visceral, and it will be Williams F1 Team Gaming, all doing battle here at Road Atlanta, ready to fight for the crown on iRacing and give themselves some important points and some breathing room to the rest of the field on their chance to move through into our grand final in a month or so's time. The pressure is building on the grid as the time is ticking down. The race start is ahead of us, and 12 laps to decide it all here at Road Atlanta. Williams lock out the front row. Alessandro Bico looking for his 4th victory on this platform here today. It is a good start from him. It's a good start from the front row. It is better from Yoni Katia though, and it will be a better start from Matteo Kunze, who will take over the race lead. Yoni Katia will try and take over 2nd position of the run into the opening corner. Alessandro Bico, a little bit bogged down on that race start. will now lose the race lead. It'll be the first time we'll be doing some laps this evening that's not in the race lead. Up the hill they go. It's Williams leading from Visceral, from Williams from Visceral, and there was a good start from the Vitality bunch. A terrible one, though, from Dom Blyer, who finds himself 9th and last.
But now the pressure is put on to Visceral, because if it held as this for another 8 laps, Williams F1 Team Gaming would come out on top. It is as simple as that. So it's not Alessandro Bico that's going to be going on the offense as much as he may want second spot back. No, it's Yoni Katia who's going to be going on defense to try and back Bico up into the path of Isaac Price, to try and get Christoph Korekis past Thibaut Casbon and into this fight as well. The Sea of Yellow, let's see what they can do as well, because you're right. An aggressive start from Thibaut Casbon, slots himself up a couple of spots, and now trying to close in on the leaders.
Bico on the attack. He wants this to be a 1-2. He wants this to be done basically a lap into the race. He looks to the outside, the defensive line coming in from the Visceral driver of Yoni Katia. There's a look to the outside. It's full send from Alessandro Bico. Surely this is going to go the way of Visceral. And if he's not careful, Isaac Price might come through as well. Looks to the outside of the final corner, and now Thibaut Casabon's knocking at the door. The bright yellow Bumblebee will find its way through in the 4th.
Actually helps out the Williams F1 Team Gaming here, because there'll be some separation that builds up to turn 1. Big send from Casabon. He's got to clear. Korekis allows Isaac Price to try the up and under. They're going to almost come 3 into 1. Had to back out of that. Does Korekis, leaves them offline, and now bullied by Marcel Cinchik. Not quite bullied by Yuri Toman. Dominic Bly is going to be patient and sit behind them as they drop down into the S's, and Yuri Toman gets in front of Korekis. But that makes the job even harder now for Visceral. Korekis at the tail end of the field.
Yeah, see, this is actually not ideal for Visceral. That fight between Isaac Price and Thibaut Casbon has actually given it really largely to Williams here, to the point where Yoni Katia's got 1 second behind Matteo Kuta, right? So it's unlikely that Katia's going to be able to close up and take the victory for Visceral. And because the gap has now grown between 3rd and 4th position, Isaac Price can't really do anything to try and get past Alessandro Bico and maybe force it that way. For Marcel Cinchik, for Thibaut Casbon, and for Yuri Toman, they're running 5th, 6th and 7th. They can maybe work together to try and get something here. If they can maybe drop Isaac Price down through the field into 7th position and progress their way up 4th, 5th and 6th, they might just be able to steal away 2nd this evening and the 23 points that go with it. But at the moment, it is huge advantage Williams F1 Team Gaming.
Well, I guess it took a while for it to come true, but you and I circling Williams F1 Team Gaming at the start of the night is proving to be somewhat warranted now. Now that they're sitting 1st and 3rd on the road, but again, a great effort from Visceral, flying the high after Live for Speed. Almost made the finals as well on Gran Turismo 7, it should be said. They have a lineup that's always one to watch when we make our way on over to the consoles. Question will be on RaceRoom now. How will they fare, and what is likely to be the most unpredictable of platforms, I think, in some ways? Because actually, when you go to Live for Speed, there were quite a few drivers in our entry list who were happy to be back on a platform, Lewis, that they hadn't raced in many a time. I would wager there's actually less drivers who have got that anecdotal RaceRoom experience compared to that legacy of Live for Speed experience that we had.
Yeah, you say that, but then I look at some of these drivers, like, I know Isaac Price is well versed, racing in DTM Esports and stuff.
He's raced everything, though.
Isaac Price was the DTM Esports Championship leader and realistically should have been the DTM Esports champion. That was on RaceRoom last season in 2025. Should have been the champion of that before being spun around. Was absolutely rapid that season. And so he sat there being like, yeah, RaceRoom boys, I'm in. I'm down. And Visceral looking really strong this season. 2 finals. The chance of getting into 3 finals is actually really high. They're having an incredible season. Like I've said, there are some teams that haven't really been participating, like 0 Point, that may be a firm favourite to really contend for things high up. But because of where they are in the champion standings, they're a non-factor, right? They're not going to be contending for one of the top 4 spots. It's not a win you're in. They're literally going out there for glory, guts and glory in the final round. Williams had plenty of speed on RaceRoom. Vitality have plenty of speed on RaceRoom. These 3 teams, I'm not going to lie, if one of them doesn't go through into the, if one of them is not in the top 4, I would be seriously surprised. I think it is going to come down to the fight between TC, between EMM. Those are really going to be where I'm looking at as to who's going to be fighting over that fourth and final spot.
And if I'm Williams F1 Team Gaming right now, I'm telling Alessandro, don't make a move here. Just don't even risk anything, because we are so comfortable in this position right now. The gap back to Isaac Price, 1.7 seconds. So the draft that we talked about earlier isn't being fed back to fourth place. And Yoni Kati are not able to be slow enough to back Rico into the rest of the field with half of this final race of the night now completed. So 1.2 seconds, it's not a gap that's really worth making a move to chase down your teammate for. Very, very calm now if you're in that Williams radio conversation, telling your drivers what they need to do and what the lap times are.
5 minutes and 45 seconds left to go. Like you say, things are, relatively speaking, calm, maybe building up. Williams have the control. Alessandro Bico sat in third position. Like you say, has no real requirement to find his way through here on Yoni Katia. And I do think that Dominic Blyer sat in ninth position. He'll really be like a boring 5 minutes and 20 seconds ahead. All right, fair enough. Sign me up. You know, we'll take it. He's got 4 laps left to go at the line. And the reason we say boring, if he gets himself involved, if he makes an instant between himself, Karekis, Toman, he could cost them points, which could bring Visceral back into it. And so you could then ask the question, what if Christoph Karekis starts to play a little bit of a game with Dominic Blyer there? Maybe backs him up, tries to force the move, tries to force the drama, tries to force race control into it, tries to force a potential penalty onto the shoulders of Williams. If he does that, wow, maybe the door's open. Dominic Blyer's coming through regardless.
Well, at that point, I would tell Dominic Blyer to head down to pit lane and retire from the race if I'm Williams and in the management. Always difficult to tell the driver that, but sometimes that's what needs be. Now, this is all fair racing. He's made his way past Christoph through the final complex, back up to turn 3. Yuri Toman with a 1.5 second gap up the road. So it's distinct sets of battle groups right now around the track, and this is a lot more like what we saw in Heat 1. It goes back to these drivers hitting a speed and a rhythm with limited passing opportunities. Only a couple of places to stamp on the brakes hard, and I wonder what goes through the minds of teams when they pick tracks, Lewis, because 3 of the 5 teams picked Road Atlanta during the pit ban phase. Why? Did they think it was good for them speed-wise? Did they think they would be able to defend well? Or did they think they had a chance of making their way forward? This is one of those new elements to the ERL in 2026 that teams are still learning, and we're figuring out how they make their decisions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I think the pick ban, you know, we said before, maybe it should be moved to today, but yeah, that's fine. But let's be real. So you say 3 teams picked it. Who were the 3 teams? Vitality wasn't one of them, but I can tell you, Visceral and Williams both were. The other team was 92 Esports, who actually were running pretty well at some point, but obviously didn't quite have the luck go their way, and maybe not the judgment either. And so unfortunately, they left the competition in the second chance race. But for Visceral and Williams, I bet they'll be sat there being like, bingo, perfect choice for us, boys. You know, Williams will be telling me that, yeah, we picked it, we won it. Fantastic. Visceral will be selling in, yeah, we picked it and we finished second at the moment. And yeah, we were in contention and we've shown some great speed. So we'll take those 23 points, don't worry about it. Vitality picked Donington, and I don't even think they'll be particularly disappointed.
Donington would have been interesting, actually, you know? Which layout of Donington was it?
GP. No, GP's better than.
No, it is, but you know what?
Nationals.
You know
double
what I'm
hairpin
thinking
at the end. Yeah, it's a little better. Well, you wanted the big jump or something?
No, I was just thinking of the chaos of the double hairpin. So potentially that could have been pretty chaotic.
Yeah, but I'm in for that, mate. I go to Donington twice a year. That double hairpin sequence is hilarious.
I wanted St. Petersburg for the record, so it's not like I don't want chaos. It's just I wanted a different type of chaos.
I will shake your hand on that one. If this was St. Pete, I would have been well up for that. Hilarious track.
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious, but it's also it's surprisingly good as well. That's what makes it so fun. And I think for these type of cars, it would be good as well. So, you know, we've enjoyed the slightly lower powered cars that we've had this year compared to last year. Does that mean we're going to put less power in the Vickers 8 for our finals as well? Because maybe that gives me a chance of driving it without traction control.
GT4 spec Vickers 8 incoming. Gotcha. That next season, it'll be touring car spec. And the season after that, it'll be budget kit car spec Vickers 8. I like it. And then the year after that, out absolutely nowhere, it'll be LMDH spec. No worries. To be fair, that car in LMDH spec would be fantastic, wouldn't it? It does look the part. It does look the part.
I mean, it's a great car. It was just, again, it was the difference of no one really knowing what to expect. A platform that they hadn't, in many cases, driven ever before, and trying to get up to speed in limited practice time. It makes for a much more changeable competition setting, given the variables that get thrown into the mix, and that includes the realities of LAN events, you know, being in a rig that's not necessarily your own, Lewis, whereas all of these drivers sitting at home and very comfortable right now.
Yeah, I mean, LAN's always different. Although drivers these days are getting more and more used to LAN. It's become a pretty more common than, let's say, when we started sim racing, right? Where there are quite a few LAN competitions. People are used to driving on other rigs, getting used to other bits of kit. But there are still drivers that perform better at LAN than they do at home. And even then, it's just a part of the environment. I've got to say, I've been to quite a few LAN events. The Maastricht LAN event earlier this season. Oh, sorry, earlier this season. Last season. End of last season, earlier this year. Probably number one on my list of LAN events I've enjoyed. I absolutely loved it. Loved how all the teams got along. Loved Florian getting involved with it. Andy Mason as well got involved with it. It was a brilliant event. All these teams, you know, ones that might have been on the outside looking in, now we started thinking like, oh, can we do it? Williams, they were there last season. Yeah, they were like, yeah, we want to be there again. It was great fun.
We had that nice little dinner. It was a different type of event, wasn't it? And again, one that I'm looking forward to in just a couple of months' time to do it all again.
Not long now to see which teams are going to be those four going through into our grand final. These three teams are the ones looking strongest for them. Williams haven't been in a final, though, this season. They've been fourth in the opening 2 rounds of the 2026 ERL Championship here in BCO. But this time, they've made their way through to the final. And with a great drive from Matteo Kunze, it will be Williams F1 Team Gaming winning here on iRacing. Alessandro Bico in third will be enough to seal the crown. Yoni Katia and Isaac Price for Visceral will finish in second and fourth to seal second for them. Vitality were along for the ride, and they would finish third of 3 in this. But a great drive from Williams, Bico, Kunze, and Blyer. Winners on iRacing.
Well, job's done, at least tonight. But RaceRoom, there can be no margin for error, given how tight it is at the top of the ERL Championship standings. But maybe the most favored iRacing lineup coming into the night, able to deliver. Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, in a slightly unusual car, and ultimately a slightly unusual final race as well.
Certainly was. Matteo Kunze will be the winner at the end of it. Yoni Katia and then Alessandro Bico. Isaac Price in 4th position. Williams first and third, enough to win. Second and fourth for Visceral, enough for second. A trio of Vitalities behind in Casbon, Chinchik and Toman. Blyer and Karekas was able to see out without any further power issues, thus proving the commentators' curses absolute rubbish. Williams F1 Team Gaming, though, will be your winners. We'll catch up with those in a few moments' time, and I'm sure Alessandro Bico will be more disappointed to chat to us for a 4th time, because he'll be like, oh, these again, and I'm not even the winner. But we'll still chat to him regardless. After all that, though, we'll take a look at highlights from the final. Highlights from the final on iRacing. It was Alessandro Bico from pole position. Not the best start, though, for him. It would see his teammate Matteo Kunze take over the race lead into the opening corner. Vitality had a solid start. Dominic Blyer, not much though. He will drop back into 9th position on the race start after a decent qualifying from the Williams driver. Vitality is going to be working their way through. Isaac Price trying to fend off one of the Vitalities of Thibaut Casamon. He was able to do so, but allowed the top 3 to check away into the distance. Isaac Price was looking backwards at Thibaut Casamon, at Yuri Toman, at Marcel Chinchik. Meanwhile, towards the front, it was Alessandro Bico trying to get past Johnny Katia and up into 2nd position. Didn't matter too much, though, because Williams were in the pound seat. They were driving well. Kunze was driving brilliantly. With the Williams F1 Team Gaming into the final for the first time of the 2026 season. A first and a third would be enough for them. It was Kunze across the line to take victory. It was Williams F1 Team Gaming on top here on iRacing.
And let's catch up with our winners tonight, and starting with Matteo Kenzer in one of those Williams F1 Team Gaming machines. Matteo, what a drive from you at the front of the field. Got the best start of them all as well. Things hooked up at the end for you. How were you feeling around the track by the end of the night?
Yeah, I mean, I put a good lap in quali. I put a lap together. And then, I mean, after I saw my teammate kind of messed up the start a bit, I just tried to get away and get a gap, and from there I just managed the race, and I think did a really good job at the end here.
Obviously, very quickly there before we'll jump over to your teammates. A great drive to victory. It's been a solid evening for you all season, all evening long. Obviously, the race is coming into this. Been a fair amount of pressure on your shoulders. You came into it as favourites. Did you feel that pressure all night?
I mean, I knew we were going to be able to do good, but my weak point maybe was the qualies, but we managed to get through every race, so it doesn't matter at the end if you go through as first team or like last team. So when it mattered, we delivered, so I think it was good.
Well, congratulations, Matteo. Let's catch up with your teammate Alessandro Bico as well. Alessandro, you've been a frequent guest here in the booth. Tell us, things came together for you and the team. Was there much coordination on the radio there at the end?
Well, so I will start from quali, which was but I'm also very happy. Again, a good lap. In the race, unfortunately, I couldn't start very good. Well, I would say good this time. But yeah, I mean, at the end, I just, stay there, not doing crazy things, and yeah, the important thing is the team. So.
And obviously for the third and final driver, who we've not heard from this evening, Dom Blyer joins us. Not so much an iRacing specialist, Dom, but clearly you're showing your pace on this platform. You've shown it on RaceRoom, you've shown it obviously on ACC, where we've seen you battle at the front. And now we're seeing you battle at the front here, and a winner in a sense as a team. What do you make of this? What do you make of the TCR car? What do you make of iRacing? And what do you make of Williams this season? It's been a fantastic run for you.
Yeah, I think we cook this time. I mean, thanks to the boys, really, they academy. So yeah, I wasn't enjoying it that much. So thanks to them, and I hope we can do something in RaceRoom and make it to the final, right?
Well, congrats, Dom, on a great effort for Williams F1 Team Gaming, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes for Esports Racing League. Well, Lewis, Williams F1 Team Gaming, another victory for them in the Esports Racing League, and now just RaceRoom and 6 teams really left in the fight to be our final 4.
Williams F1 Team Gaming, definitely a deserved winner here on this platform. Bico's been so fast this evening. Great to see them in the final, and great to see them being really consistent this season. Of course, they were one of the finalists last season, at the end of the season in Maastricht. They were one of the teams that joined us out there. Does seem as though the 3 teams we've got here in the final, they are 3 really likely to be in that top 4 at the moment, but RaceRoom can really throw the cat amongst the pigeons when we go racing there in a couple of weeks' time.
11th of June, we will break out the Alfa Romeo DTM car from 1995. Here are the championship standings. Remember, EMM Esports are defending champions, currently on the wrong side of our top 4 bubble that will compete in person in July on the last garage. So remember, to come back here to the VCO Esports channels on the 11th of June when we go racing for the final round of our ERL regular season. For Josh Lee, Hugo Luis behind the scenes giving us all the action, alongside our team from VCO, Arjuna Kanki Party, Lewis McLeod, bidding you farewell. See you in a couple of weeks to wrap up the regular season.